I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 64 of Tales from Godric's Hollow, the number one anti-bullying Harry Potter podcast in the world. That's confirmed by multiple sources. I promise you that. I am one of your hosts. I am the muggle of the show. I am Josh Brown. I am joined, as always, by the professor who can't get enough of illegal fireworks, Matt Sonnenberg. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Josh.
How are you?
I'm good. I have to ask, though.
Yeah.
Is Rita Skeeter one of your sources?
I can neither confirm nor deny the names of my sources, Matt.
Okay.
Yeah, journalistic integrity. That's one thing that me and Miss Skeeter have in common.
Anyway.
Matt, we have an interesting show this week.
I'm hoping so.
This is, like I said, episode 64. But unlike most weeks, we are only covering one chapter tonight, folks. That's
true.
Right. One chapter, chapter 28 of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. If you went ahead and read further, that's on you. We tried warning you. We tried reminding you. We could only do so much. If you read past chapter 28, I'm sorry, but you should have listened. That's all we're doing this week is chapter 28. Hopefully, people remembered that when it came to the emails.
I think from what I've read, they've been good about it.
Okay. That was my main worry and concern. I know you're usually like 90% diligent when it comes to reading through the emails, but sometimes they come in hot and heavy when we're in the middle of recording and you don't have time to skim over them, and that's when it could get somewhat complicated. So, yeah, I just don't want to get spoiled by an errant email that isn't intentionally actually spoiling anything, but just mistaken reading, you know?
Yeah.
Big concern of mine, Matt. So, yeah, we're going to be covering just the one chapter. So, possibly a shorter show than you've been getting the last few weeks. Who knows?
Who knows?
We could sit here and talk all night if we really wanted to.
I'm sure we could.
Before we get into any of that, though, Matt, and even before we get into the giveaway, which we usually like to start with,
okay,
we got some news to address here.
This could be interesting.
I like to toss in some Harry Potter news when it comes across, and for the most part, I try to stay out of the crosshairs when it comes to getting news related to the Harry Potter universe.
Yeah.
But when local and national publications start writing about something related to Harry Potter that has nothing to do with like the announcement of a new book or new movie or trailer or anything like that, it raises some eyebrows, right?
Okay.
I saw this story circulating around probably last week or so. It had to have been last week on random social media sites and everything like that. And I didn't put much thought into it until I realized that the story was about something that was happening minutes from my house. And this is big time. You know, like everybody likes to have Harry Potter themed events and, you know, pub crawls and parties and Yule balls and all that good stuff, right?
Sure.
Harry Potter's an easy theme to get on board with. But this one goes above and beyond all that. This is probably the most family friendly Harry Potter themed event, if you will, that you will hear in a long time.
Sure.
The title of this article, Matt: Hogwarts or Hillsborough? Now, I'll stop you there. Hillsborough is a suburb of Portland.
Thank you. Okay. That was my first question.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just a little suburb. I mean, it's technically part of like the Portland area, but if you ask people from Hillsborough, they are from Hillsborough. It's like, no, shut up, you're in Portland. Whatever. Hogwarts or Hillsborough? Middle school teacher's Harry Potter themed classroom goes viral. So I'll read you the little excerpts of the story here. Kyle Hubler's classroom at Evergreen Middle School has enough Harry Potter themed treasures to keep a Niffler busy for weeks. The Hillsborough educator has recently been popping up all over social media feeds for his intricately decorated teaching space. Headlines about the Hogwarts-like classroom are peppered throughout the internet from ABC to Yahoo News. Quote, "It's such a cool feeling to see that some small little thing I did over the summer in my classroom for students is igniting this positivity for the people," he told the Oregonian. Hubler said the idea of decorating his classroom like a Hogwarts common room came to him the previous year. He had decorated a Harry Potter-themed wall, which students took to immediately. Over the next few months, Hubler picked up several trinkets and other odds and ends from thrift stores to fully deck out the whole classroom. Quote, "This year I wanted it to be a place where you could truly get lost in the story of the books, and the classroom being this fantasy world where we are going to have fun and learn," he said. "It's sort of a refuge away from the day-to-day life." Now I'm going to link you the story here, Matt, so you could kind of follow along, because it has a whole photo gallery of what his classroom looks like.
Okay.
And you'll include it in the show notes, and everybody should go to talesfromgroundholler.com/064 to check these out. But it's incredible. Like, every detail of his classroom has been turned into Harry Potter themed. Like, the walls look like they're bricks. He put like black covering up on the ceiling to make it look like the night sky, which he then looks like he painted speckly to make it look like the night sky. He has the house banners hanging everywhere.
Yep.
He has like a little offshoot room from his classroom that has different colored chairs to match the colored colors of the houses. It's insane. Like, he has wands and wizard chests, and
it's got the house points.
The house points. His desk like looks like I would imagine the headmaster desk to look like, or at least a professor's desk. It's awesome. It's so just cool. Amazing. And like, I don't know if it says it in the story. Like, I was cautious going deep into the story because of, potential spoilers and whatnot.
Yep.
But like, he sent out letters to the kids that were going to be in his class during the summer, welcoming them to his class for the upcoming year, a la, the letters that the kids get when they're invited to Hogwarts for the first time.
Yes.
Amazing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of anything like this before?
I can't say that I have, other than I do know a few people over in the Rumor Requirement did stumble upon this, or at least an article about it. I think it was in the Huffington Post too.
Yeah.
I just didn't connect it to being so close to you.
Sure.
I didn't think about where it was. And I honestly, I think this article that you sent me might have gone more in depth since it's local.
Yeah, probably.
Like, some of these pictures don't look familiar from the other article that I looked at. So, in any case, yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm sure having access to him and being able to get quotes and photos and everything helped make the story a little bit more lengthier than you may see on the internet. But yeah, I mean, like, I had seen it kind of going around last week, and I didn't pay much attention to it. And then when I realized that it was pretty much in my backyard, I'm like, oh, I need to actually look into this because this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really well done. Like,
absolutely. I mean, just one of the first lines that stood out says he spent 70 hours over the summer constructing this classroom.
Yep.
I mean, I know a lot of teachers, and I know they spend a lot of time prepping their classroom, but this is 70 hours to decorate his classroom.
Right. That's all in the summer.
I mean, not even counting like all his other, prep work for his class. Right. It's just 70 hours of decorating.
Right. And acquiring the goods. And he doesn't have like a teacher's budget to go out and this is all,
because
out of pocket.
Exactly. I'm looking at those and like the wands and the tapestries and stuff on the wall. Like I've looked into those. They're not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That just his Harry Potter collection in this classroom is ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. And I can't help but wonder how much of this stuff he just had at his house, already.
Yeah. And his wife's like, we have to get rid of this.
Right.
Wait a minute, I have a plan.
Yeah. But I appreciate when teachers being a teacher is a hard enough job as it is, right?
Sure.
Yes. Respect to all the teachers out there that do this for a living. But it's the teachers that are able to go the extra mile, and not necessarily to this extent, but go that extra mile to try to connect with their kids, because it's a long year for the kids as much as it is for the teachers. So if you could have some sort of connection with kids right off the bat, your year is probably going to go a little bit better. I would imagine.
Definitely. I mean, you get the idea that, the magic might start to wear off after the first week or two. But if you do it right throughout the year, you can use those decorations and that setup to your advantage.
Right.
And have different celebrations and make it special all over again.
Yeah. My main takeaway from this is, how many of the kids would you estimate are familiar and are fans with the Harry Potter series? There has to be at least one kid that are what is all of this stuff? This is nuts. I don't understand any of it. Right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would estimate, if I had to take a guess, 90% probably know everything there is about it, either because they've read it themselves or their parents have introduced them to it, even if it's just in movie form.
Right.
They may not have read all the books yet,
or any of the books.
Yeah, I just have to think though, because of how Harry Potter is stuck around, that a good amount of the students still know what it is. Because we've heard not only from younger fans of this podcast, but from the older fans who grew up with it, and they mention their kids from time to time. It's their kids know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think those are the kids who are in school right now. So I think there's a good chance that either they've come across it themselves because it's still so prevalent, or their parents have brought it to them and they're going to know what it is.
Right. Yeah, I was kind of thinking 85-90% probably in some respect, but
yeah. I mean, I think you're still going to have that one kid who has absolutely no idea what it is.
Sure.
It's why is everybody excited about that? I mean, hopefully their parents, like you said, they got their letters in the summer.
Right.
Hopefully their parents took the time to, their parents should at least know what it is.
Right.
Even if they're not a big fan of it.
Well,
should be able to explain it to them.
So as I started reading through this article a little bit further, even after getting the letters, apparently it was still a surprise what he was doing.
Okay.
Hubler sorted the students because he had tables for the corresponding houses in this class, 4 rows of tables.
Sure.
Gryffindors in the back, then Hufflepuffs, then Ravenclaws, then Slytherins up front because they need to be monitored at all times. He's said he sorted the students by administering personality tests during the first week of classes. For those first few days, class was conducted outside in an effort to maintain the surprise.
All right.
let's see here. Oh, and best part of all of this, right? He says Hubler said the decorations and lessons with strong thematic ties have helped the students engage during classroom sessions. And the best part, he's not even a literature teacher. He teaches math.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
Like, it's one way to make a history lesson stand out, I guess.
Sure.
But math?
History, literature, social studies,
Yeah.
Even
Math is about the last one I would come to.
Science with, like, potions and, like...
Yep.
Yeah, no. Math. Because math. Anyway,
all right.
I had to pass that along. You'll be linking that in the show notes, of course, and we'll probably tweet it out and let people gander at this. And yeah, all you teachers out there listening, the bar has now been set. And I'm not saying, go all out right now because school's already started for most of you. In the future, though, you know what to do. You know what the gold standard is. Let's see if you can get above that.
Yep. Second semester. There you go.
Boom. Yeah, come back from winter break.
Yeah.
To Hogwarts.
Be a great surprise.
Mm-hmm. Especially if they've been sitting there all year, up until that point in a normal classroom.
Yep.
Anyway, that was fun. I had to share that because that kind of stuff is fascinating to me now. So, now can we give something away, Matt?
I think we can.
Perfect. Last week we said we're going to do a giveaway this week. And the giveaway prize is...
Funko Pop.
Luna. Which one, Matt?
Luna with the lion hat.
Ah, yes. What a fantastic one to give away.
Yes.
That was just coming out, right? Like, that's brand new?
Oh, yeah. It's
okay.
Technically, I think it's releasing this coming week.
Okay. Cool.
So, yeah, no one has this yet.
Awesome.
No one should have this yet.
Right.
If you do, I want to talk to
you. We have questions. Off the air, of course. Don't want to get you in trouble. So we're going to give away one of those. Last week, I implored everybody to send in emails to Matt and fill his inbox with entries into the giveaway. And basically, it was pretty simple. Just ask people what they wanted or would want their Patronus animal to be.
Yep.
Now, I also included if they wanted to let us know what they've been told via the Patronus test on Pottermore. Told them it was. That was cool too. But we kind of wanted to know what you guys wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So, Matthew.
Yes.
Did we have some entries this week?
We do. I'm going to need a number again between 1 and 11.
1 and 11, huh? It's tough, Matt.
Yeah?
It's tough. For some reason, I'm thinking the number 6 tonight.
6.
I don't know why. It's just the number's sticking out in my head.
All right. Our winner this week is Lynn.
Lynn? I think that's a new name.
I think so, too.
That's fantastic. Congratulations, Lynn. What was Lynn's Patronus animal?
Says, my Patronus would probably be one of two things. Either a rat terrier, because I used to have one and she was the toughest little dog ever.
Okay.
Or, I like this, a Wookiee. Because Star Wars was my first addiction. But yeah, that would be good. Especially if it came with sound effects. Can you imagine? Like, that would be frightening.
Dementors
Out of your wand comes this Wookiee with the Wookiee call.
Dementors have no chance.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lynn. Do we have lots of good suggestions, Matt? Or not suggestions, but ideas?
We do have a few.
Yeah.
Do you want to run through them?
Sure, why not?
All right.
Probably do a
From Caitlin, she says, my Patronus would be a horse because the image of a horse kicking a Dementor down is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
According to the quiz, though, it's a dolphin.
Okay, fair enough.
Mary Catherine says, if I could choose my Patronus, it would be a Boston Terrier because they're the sweetest, smartest, and most beautiful dogs. I have two myself, Molly and Louie. On Pottermore, my Patronus was a Swift, which is a type of bird, which I was happy with.
Okay.
Glad it wasn't something dumb.
Sure, like an otter.
Alex wrote in and said, as I've stated before, according to Pottermore, my Patronus is an eagle. That's pretty rad Patronus, and I'm happy with it. But if I was to choose my own, it would be a dragon. I don't really think I really need to explain why.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Rachel says, I always felt that if I were able to choose my Patronus, it would be a cat. Ironically enough, the Patronus I received when I took the Pottermore test was a cat, specifically a Manx cat.
Okay.
There you go. As far as the personality of the specific breed of cat, I don't know if I entirely agree, but yes, a cat nonetheless. Bobby says, I would like for my Patronus to be Dwayne Johnson.
Okay. I mean, who could go wrong with The Rock, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Matthew says, if I could choose my Patronus, I would want to be a snow leopard. Ooh. I love how graceful they are. Pottermore gave him a dapple gray stallion.
Okay. I wonder if the spots would show up on a Patronus.
Well, I think it'd be. Think of shades of gray, basically.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But like, it's monochromatic, but you can tell.
Sure.
Kim says, as a great coffee lover, this is my Patronus.
Wow,
a cup of
working
coffee.
That in there, huh? Just
yep.
Okay, all right, fair enough, Kim. Get your shots in where you can.
She does say this is a plea for Tales from Godric's Hollow to add a mug to their shop. I currently have to write my emails drinking coffee from my Game of Thrones mug. Nothing would improve my Patronus more than a Tales from Godric's Hollow version just in time for Christmas.
I'll make teacups. Tumbler glasses. Not making coffee mugs.
As for a more appropriate entry, from my 8-year-old Hufflepuff Luna-loving daughter, I asked her, and she said of flamingo.
Ooh.
And when I asked why, she said because it's pink, fluffy, and awesome.
There we go. You know what? You can have coffee mugs if the people promise to not put coffee in them, only hot cocoa.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works.
That's acceptable.
From Deborah, says my ideal Patronus would be a unicorn.
Nice.
Not bad. Chelsea says my Patronus on Pottermore is a fox terrier, which I'm pretty happy with because I own a Yorkie. I'm definitely a dog person and can be pretty energetic yet loyal like a terrier would be.
Is this the third terrier?
Possibly.
Wow.
I wasn't counting, but that sounds about right,
our
actually.
fan base loves them some terriers, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, who knew? We're doing
more
market research right now.
Yeah, are you telling me we should put like dog sweaters on the shop, or
we probably like throw in a couple dog food ads or something and mix it into the show? And,
got it.
Yeah, market directly to the people listening. Give them what they want, Matt.
And finally, we have one from Maria. It says, I would love my Patronus to be a chupacabra. I was terrified of it back when I first heard of it, and for some reason I think Dementors would be too.
Yeah, definitely.
I would hope so.
I still really like the flamingo suggestion.
Yeah?
Yeah. Those are big, intimidating birds when they start flapping their wings.
Yeah, when they're not just standing there on one leg.
Right. Yeah.
Sure.
Huh. Well, thank you all. That was a lot of fun. Matt, what would your Patronus be?
Oh, I never think about these things.
I know. I know you're not like an animal person in general, so this is why this is the best question for you.
Well, shoot. So the first thing that popped into my head, you're going to read too much into it now.
Okay. Perfect.
Because the first thing that popped in my head was a giant snake.
Hmm.
And of course, that goes perfectly with all your theories. So
I don't know what you're talking about, Matt. Interesting. Okay, fair enough. I like it. Did you take the Patronus test?
Yeah.
What'd you get? I don't remember.
I was a hedgehog.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad. At least I didn't get a terrier.
Yeah, we'd have a whole fan base upset at you for getting labeled with a terrier. They'd want it for themselves.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you for everybody that wrote in and participated in that giveaway. Congratulations to Lynn. Matt will be getting a hold of you to get you your prize. And stick around for the end of the show, where we'll do another giveaway for something cool next week.
Before we get too far off topic, I should ask you, we all know what Pottermore gave you, but if you had to pick, if you got to pick and you couldn't pick what Pottermore gave you, let's put it that way.
3 favorite animals.
Okay.
This will be in order from favorite to least favorite of my top 3. Number 1, polar bear. Should make a really cool Patronus. 2, anaconda.
All right. Fits with mine.
3, a sloth.
That. I don't know.
That Patronus is not going to work out so well.
No, I'm questioning that one a bit.
It would be the slowest moving Patronus.
Yeah, it's like, come on, like you're sitting there poking it with your wand.
Yeah.
Like, get a move on.
It would just come out and just lay on the floor, just lay there.
Well, if it distracted the Dementors, I guess that's all you need. But
yeah,
I don't know about that one.
So polar bear.
Much better.
Yeah.
Much better.
That's frightening. Big.
Yes.
Beefy. All right, Matt.
Yeah.
Chapter 28.
Chapter 28. Snape's worst memory. We do briefly have one new character, but I'm sure you didn't even notice.
100% no.
Yeah, there's a kid named Stebbins in the memory that Flitwick was giving and talking to.
Okay.
But yeah.
That whole scene, basically, I was just trying to figure out how old Flitwick was and how long he's been at Hogwarts.
Sure.
I was trying to do math, and that was all I was focusing on. So,
well, go talk to that math teacher.
Yeah, no kidding. So it's probably safe to assume that he's not probably going to come back into the fold. So we'll just move on past that, Matt.
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 28. Only one chapter this week.
One chapter. That's all we got.
Going into this reading, I was expecting the most intense, crazy, like heart-stopping chapter of life. That did not happen. However, the emotional roller coaster was doing loops and back and forths like I've never seen a roller coaster do. I came out of this chapter so emotionally conflicted and confused and agitated and concerned than I have in a long, long time.
Sure.
I'm still upset about things, Matt. I've been thinking about this since I read it last night. I'm upset, but I'm also sympathetic, and I'm also angry at multiple people, and I'm confused, and I'm conflicted on just how I should feel or even think about things that happened in this chapter.
Sure.
And I don't know going forward if there's going to be a concrete answer that I'm looking for on how I'm supposed to feel, because it kind of was painted in this frame of let the reader interpret what they want from this and take away from it whatever they choose.
I can see that.
You know, like I don't think JK is going to come through like in the next chapter and be like, this is where you should have gone with your emotions here, because this is clearly the right way of thinking and the wrong way of thinking, because
Yes, the next chapter is titled Snape's Snape's Memory Revisited.
replaying the hits. I just I don't that there's a lot of things I don't like. I just don't like this chapter. Because it made me feel things that I wasn't ready to feel, Matt.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the deaths, like the heartbreak. I think I'm prepared for. But this was just so it sadly like played into like real world events, and also like hit home in multiple different ways, and it just this chapter, Matt, this chapter,
It's quite the chapter.
starts off in possibly the worst way a chapter could ever start off.
I will give you that, yes.
I mean, no other chapter has started off the way this chapter started.
Has Val ever shown you one of these in the book?
One of what?
The decrees?
Oh, no. Do they look differently in the book? Like, what do you mean?
Yes. They're like it's not just straight writing.
Okay.
It's stylized in the book. Like it almost feels like a picture of the decree, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like you should check out. I mean, even if it's just the beginning of chapter 28.
Okay.
Check out and see what it looks like.
I will do that. I hadn't even put any thought into them being stylized differently.
Yeah, but it's one of very few times that we see that. Like we've seen it before. Occasionally, when someone writes a letter, she'll do that. I know. I can remember. I think it's in Azkaban. We get Hagrid when he writes a letter about Buckbeak.
Okay.
And she mentions like the tears that like on his writing, like that's in the book.
Oh, wow.
Like Hagrid's scrawl
mm-hmm.
and like teardrops smudging things.
Gotcha.
Like that's in the book.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why she decides to do it at certain instances and not all the time. Like why every letter isn't spelled out like that, but the decrees are one of those things.
Gotcha.
That's I think always in the book like that.
Okay. Well, I will have to go back and look at them. Yeah, that's interesting. It doesn't take away from the fact, Matt, that this was the worst way to start a chapter.
I understand.
Yeah.
Every week you're hoping for no umbrage, and it's in the first sentence, so.
Yeah. She's now the headmistress of Hogwarts. Cool. That's awesome. That's where I wanted to go with this story.
Yep.
I mean, I should have seen it coming, granted.
Yes.
That's on
if
me.
Dumbledore's gone, what's going to happen?
Yeah, the tea leaves did not reveal that one for me.
I think you mentioned something like, oh, McGonagall can handle things. But
yeah.
Well,
100%.
yeah, she could if they let her.
Yeah, I was dumb. I'm just like, I immediately like try to check out from this chapter. I'm like, this is not what I want to read tonight. I don't need more of Dumbridge. I don't need to like have a whole chapter about how she's in charge at Hogwarts and how awful she is. I was really mad, and like just a couple paragraphs in of like having to go through this.
Yeah.
Wasn't looking forward to it. But then the things gave me hope.
Yep.
Little things.
Yes. There are many good little tidbits in this chapter.
like the headmaster's office locking itself to prevent her from entering the office.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, okay. Hogwarts itself is trying to kind of rise up against her authoritative rule here. Okay. I'll see where this goes, you know?
Yep. How's this for a theory? Dumbledore didn't actually leave.
You think he's just locked himself in the office?
Yeah. Just disappear for a little bit until they all run out of the office. Come back to the office and lock it.
I suppose it's possible. I mean, I wouldn't put it... It's not out of the realm of possibilities. Although, I feel like he probably left for a reason.
Yeah?
He went somewhere to do something important. He's not the kind that would just buckle down and hide out and wait for the coast to be clear.
No, but why couldn't he do what he was doing from his office? Do you know what he's doing?
Does anybody? No.
Well, yes, the rest of the listening audience, but...
That's true. I don't know. It just... He probably needs some fresh air. He probably needed to stretch his legs and, you know... I don't know. He went somewhere to go do something important.
Okay.
Whatever that was, he needed to be out of his office. And it was probably a planned trip to begin with, and the whole thing was just like added theatrics because he could.
He was planning on leaving that night, and it's like, okay, we can leave a couple hours early.
Yeah, I got this. I'll go out in style. It's all about the style, Matt.
Dumbledore's got it.
So no, I don't believe that he's locked in his office.
All right. It does make for a better story that, yeah, Hogwarts itself is basically turning against Umbridge.
Mm-hmm. Because, you know, a few books ago, I would have said, that's crazy. The school could never do something like that. Like, now at this point, I'm just accepting of any possibilities when it comes to that kind of weird stuff. So, absolutely. The Inquisitorial Squad.
Yeah.
That's gross. That makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yep. Like, it kind of got a taste of it last week, but it didn't have a name necessarily, but you get the idea that it's...
Last week it was just called Slytherin, man.
Exactly.
Now they've upgraded their name.
You get the idea that it's the same people.
Yeah. I can't imagine other kids from different houses are in this Inquisitorial Squad.
Especially when you look at, like, the house points.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the biggest indicator.
Yeah. And that's, like, the worst part about this is, like, sure, Umbridge wants to have kids do her dirty work and run around school and, like, help her be awful. Fine. Slytherin are great at that kind of stuff. But now they have been given a certain amount of power over the other students.
Yeah.
And not just like
too much power over students, fellow students.
It's not just catching them and turning them in. Now it's just, we're going to completely ruin the rest of the school year for you because we can type of power.
Yeah.
And they use it because Slytherin. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Malfoy throws out a mudblood insult. It's a couple years ago at Hogwarts when we like first started hearing the mudblood insult. It sounded juvenile. It sounded like kids picking on each other on the schoolyard type of thing, but the meaning didn't really... I think maybe because Hermione never reacted the way Malfoy wanted her to react to it.
Yeah.
But it never felt like as impactful as it should have when they were younger, you know? Because little kids say dumb things all the time.
Exactly. It was just another name for all you knew. It was just something he made up.
Right.
It's like, and you're I can't even come up with anything.
Sure.
But yeah, he just came up with a name and called it that, and like the only thing we got, because like you said, Hermione didn't really know, Harry didn't know, it was Ron that reacted to it.
Right. And I think I even got called out on this podcast by a listener for like being so casual about the term mudblood. Because at that time, like I was only hearing 12 or 13-year-old kids use it to insult each other, and it didn't have the impact, right?
Sure.
Now, when he uses it, I'm like, he's 15. Like, I know about like the pure families, you know, the pure blood families, and like how
you understand the bloodlines a lot better now.
Yes, and now
why they make such a big deal out of it.
Right. And because they're older and they're more mature, and like we've seen like adults go to that length of using that for not only insults but like just straight up discrimination.
Yep.
It has a lot more weight to it now. So like when Malfoy drops this now as opposed to a couple books ago, like my stomach just sinks. It's just like, oh god, that's I don't even like hearing that. Like it's a very foul word now.
Yeah, now you're at the point where Mudblood sounds worse to you than Voldemort.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I make fun of that loser all the time. No big deal. But like that is like, oh, I don't want to hear that spoken. Like that's just gross. So
yeah,
it's weird how growing up with these kids, like those type of things change and evolve and develop into more.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, anyway, this whole thing, it's kind of gross. I'm not liking it. Dumbledore is in charge. I don't know what to think of this whole thing. And then Fred and George come to the rescue.
That's the best way you could have put that. Yes, Fred and George come to the rescue, like as they do so often.
In the story they do, like in the book they do, but also for me, the reader, they come to the rescue. Because, like, I needed something to get me out of this immediate funk that I was in to start the chapter, or else I would have been gone. You would have lost me. Whatever was going to happen wouldn't have stuck with me if I didn't have some sort of, like, just a little bright light of hope out there in the distance, you know?
And I think JK understands that too, and that's a big reason why I think we get more Fred and George than we have in other books. Because we talked about it how many times. This book has a lot of dark areas. It's really a downer in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
And so we need those extra doses of the Weasleys, in particular Fred and George, to keep you going.
Yeah. So they're just intent on, like, they lay it out there very bluntly. They say, look, we don't want to be at Hogwarts anymore if this is going to be what Hogwarts is like. Which I can't blame them. Totally understand that. And like Hermione's like losing her mind about like why would you not want to be at Hogwarts? So like this isn't fun. This isn't how we want to spend the rest of the school year, So if they're going to leave Hogwarts or like not care about finishing Hogwarts, not finishing the school year, if they're not going to put any effort into it, they might as well take down as much of this new regime as they possibly can on their way out the door.
Yeah.
Chaos is what they're looking to start.
Pretty much. They basically said, like, if Dumbledore's not here, we don't want to be here. But then I like how they put it, like, they're not just going to up and leave yet.
Right.
They need to, I guess you could say, make Dumbledore proud.
Yeah.
And like, Dumbledore has, once again, we always talk about Dumbledore knows everything goes on in his castle. So he knows what Fred and George have been up to.
Sure, yeah.
And he's allowed it up to this point.
Right.
And now he's not here. That's going to be taken away from them. It's just like, no reason to be here. They're going to go out big. They're going to do it for Dumbledore, as they put it.
Yeah.
And go out on their terms.
Yeah, it's not a fight that they want to participate in. Like, it kind of feels like they are under the impression that it's not a fight that they could win. So
Yeah.
it's not a fight that they want to participate in. However, they're not just going to turn their backs on it. Like, they're going to go down swinging.
Yeah.
They know they're going to get knocked out, but they're going to go down swinging until the very end. And I love them for it. Like, they're just like, they have a no care attitude at this point, and they're going to do everything in their power to make everybody that deserves to be miserable as possible until they are no longer allowed to be at Hogwarts.
You got it.
Beautiful. And if anybody's going to be martyrs and just, you know, it's going to be the Weasley twins.
Yes. They know how to do it.
They have their futures planned. They know where they're going after Hogwarts. Like, they don't need to graduate Hogwarts to open up their joke shop and make tons of money doing things that they're really good at doing. They know what they're doing with their lives.
They have said, like, they questioned even coming back for their last year.
Yeah.
So now it's at a point where it's like, well, yeah, this year isn't going to do anything for us. Let's get out of here.
I'm pretty sure they just came back for, again, market research and, you know, cheap labor and marketing purposes, you know. Get the word out.
I mean, this is Mark Zuckerberg dropping out of college.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, it's like he figured out what he needs to know. He knows what he's going to do, and get out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. Kudos to them. So what are the twins going to be up to? We'll find out soon.
We will.
Very soon. Filch being on a power trip, that's one of the scariest things that's ever been spoken in this book.
Yeah. And the fact, I mean, not only is Umbridge allowing him to basically do what he wants, but she's like, she just has this need to turn everything into a decree.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I guess that's her form of power. That's what she knows. That's I guess how she undoes or overtakes whatever rules are in place at Hogwarts. Like that's you got to go to the ministry and get approved and get in writing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's her power.
Every little thing it becomes a decree.
Yeah. Okay, so she schedules a little meeting, a little one-on-one time with our dear friend, Mr. Harry Potter.
Yep.
This could go well. Right?
I wouldn't think so.
No, Harry doesn't think so either.
Yeah.
So he goes in, and she's nice and polite and friendly,
Big
almost.
Red flag.
When a character is showing complete opposite characteristics of what they have normally shown, that's troubling.
Yeah. As much as I hate to say it, like she's doing really well at being a bad guy up to this point.
Yeah.
And then she does this like 180, and it's like, no, don't. You're showing your hand here.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that.
This is the equivalent of Mad-Eye Moody intentionally and directly ignoring what Dumbledore tells him to do and doing the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Because we all know how that turned out.
Setting off alarms everywhere, and it's like, no, don't. Bad guys are so bad at being bad sometimes.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We knew she was trying to get something out of it. She wasn't being nice for the sake of being nice.
Sure.
She was trying to butter up old Mr. Harry Potter to get some info out of him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She wanted to know where Dumbledore was. She wanted to know where Sirius Black was.
Which I find interesting that she's still hung up on Sirius Black.
Well, she needs to, like, prove herself. Like, if she can't get information out of one of the students while she's in power at Hogwarts, that leads to the arrest of the most wanted criminal in the wizarding world, that justifies her entire reason for being in power at Hogwarts. in my head,
Suppose.
you know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to rationalize how she's thinking. She's like, look, I need to get Dumbledore, but like if I could still get like Sirius Black out of this,
Well, like
I'm going to be sitting in this desk for a while.
I guess I can see that. Yeah, from that power perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's not the matter at hand right now.
No.
Like, this thing with Dumbledore just happened. It's fresh on everyone's mind. Just happened last night, and like that should be her only concern right now.
But she also knows that Harry Potter doesn't know where the heck Dumbledore is. Dumbledore is too. We could all assume that nobody knows where Dumbledore is, right?
Well, then why should he know where Sirius Black is?
Because she knows that he was in the Flu Network, possibly talking to Harry Potter.
Yeah, they were communicating, but he's communicating with Dumbledore too.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that he knows where he is. He could have moved since they last talked. Like he and Sirius talked. I don't know what the exact timeline is, but a lot longer ago than him and Dumbledore.
Sure. But any information could possibly lead to his arrest, you know? Like you start working back at like his last known location, possibly find a clue there if he has moved as to where he moved to.
Yeah.
She used the Dumbledore question to get to the Sirius Black question because that is what she actually thought that she could get from Harry Potter.
Okay.
And I have a feeling, and I don't know this for sure, but the tea that she was giving him was that Veritas serum.
Yeah.
That was the truth serum, right?
It is.
Okay, perfect. I nailed that. I was like 90% sure, but I'm like, oh, maybe that did something else. I can't remember.
Well, if you remember your Latin,
Mm-hmm.
you would have no problem
Right.
remembering that.
Matt, I could barely remember the character names. So, like, it was never explored. It didn't go further than that, but it was just very convenient that she kept trying to push some sort of beverage onto Harry Potter. And that she kind of mixed it up aside, you know, from where they were. And
Well, you see, and that makes me wonder, too. Like, okay, so he picked tea, which I think was the most conducive.
Right.
Because you put things in your tea, you put things in your coffee. If you drink either of those, which I don't.
Right.
But I'm wondering, one of the things she offered was pumpkin juice. If he picks pumpkin juice, is she gonna sit there and like stir it and add something? Like,
yeah.
Do you add stuff to pumpkin juice?
I don't know. I mean, if there's like some serum in the bottom of a glass, she could pop the bottle open and pour it into the glass, and then kind of do like a little swishy swish with it as she's serving it to him.
Yeah,
she could get away with it, or try.
Well, I mean, obviously it didn't work out too well. So no. I still don't think it would have worked, but I think it just would have looked even more suspect.
Sure.
Than it already. I mean, her behavior before the drink, or like forcing the drink on him, was enough to tip him off.
Right.
Her being nice to him was enough to tip him off.
Yeah.
So I mean, by that point, it didn't matter what he chose or anything. But I'm just curious, like if she had actually gotten him to that point where he wasn't quite wary of anything yet. Like he picks pumpkin juice. What like that's going to be another red flag there.
Yeah. Anyway, she gets no information out of him. And kind of wonder where this was going to go, where it could have gone, what the end result would have been if it wasn't for the fact that fireworks started going off in Hogwarts.
Yep.
All over the place.
We have fireworks, which I have to bring this up because back around the 4th of July, our Independence Day, we had talked about fireworks.
Okay.
Because that's what we do here in America.
Yes.
And you made the comment something along the lines of fireworks don't seem like a thing wizards would be into.
Did I say that?
I'll have to go back and find it, or maybe
Okay.
someone else can find it for me. But I specifically remember that, and like I just held off because I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure they'll enjoy their fireworks.
Oh, you know what? I vaguely remember that because I was thinking, why would they need fireworks? Because they could just make all kinds of other cool stuff come out of their wands.
Sure,
Right.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely have their fireworks, and
Sure.
they have their fun with fireworks.
Well, I
Especially
didn't
if you're
know
the Weasleys.
enchanted fireworks were a thing, Matt.
Well, what do you expect? No, they're not going to have standard fireworks, but
Stupid Muggle fireworks.
yeah, I mean they're just modified.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sparklers, and they're all these other little things that like they're things
Right.
things you've seen.
Yep.
But
Magic.
yeah, the wizard version, in this case the Weasley version.
Yeah, the Weasley version. Yeah, so apparently they had an entire crate full of these things, and they set them off. This was phase 1 of their plan to
Yep.
take down the regime on their way out the door. The best thing about these fireworks, though, other than being enchanted and kind of flying around and doing their own thing, is like the jinxes that were put on them prevented the fireworks from actually being put out. Like they just started multiplying and getting bigger and louder and more powerful.
And the best part is that like Fred and George anticipated, okay, what would be the first things they would try to use to stop these things?
Right.
And that's what they like put. Yeah, it's just these boys are so good, so good.
Yeah. I did kinda sorta almost feel a little bad for Filch here. Because the poor squib like couldn't do anything at all to stop the fireworks.
Yeah. And so like Umbridge tries to do something and it obviously doesn't work. It completely backfires, right?
Right.
And she yells out like, "Don't try to stun them, Filch." and like I always have to reread that and like, wait, did Filch try to stun? No, that was you. And so she's yelling at him, telling him, okay, that didn't work, don't try to do that. But she makes it sound like he tried to do it, or I think as it's written, like it was his idea, his suggestion.
Right.
And it's like it almost makes me wonder, does Umbridge even know that he's a squib?
I don't think so.
It really doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
But I mean, she
and the
she
best
would
part,
be the
he's
type
like,
to overlook that.
"Oh yeah, totally. I would never like let me get a broom and like handle this, a different way."
Yeah. Well, let me try the non-magic route. Maybe that'll work better.
Yeah, maybe you're right. We should go a different route with this. Yeah, just poor dude. But whatever. That's what he gets.
Yep.
Also, I can't say enough how much I appreciate teachers and staff members at Hogwarts using this to also kind of rub it into Dumbridge that
your rules are stupid.
Your rules are stupid, and we're not going to help you. Mm-hmm. We are going to do the bare minimum to keep our jobs here. Yep. We're going to be here for the students, but
she's been stripping them of all their power and their authority, so they're just gonna sit back and say, all right, if that's how you want to play it, that's how we'll let you play it.
Yeah. And they're having fun. Like even Flitwick is in on it, and when that little dude has some fun, everybody's having fun. Because he's pretty much a straight shooter. He seems like the one that would be probably the least likely to like start breaking rules.
Well, you see, and that's why I think what makes his line all the more hilarious.
About how he wasn't allowed to do anything about it because of her decree.
Yeah, like he's like, I probably could have taken care of him, but I'm not sure if I had the authority.
Right.
And it's like, Flitwick, did you? Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Ah, sly old dog, you.
I love that guy. So this is it breathed new life and hope into me, Matt, because it's like, okay, the folks at Hogwarts are not just gonna sit back and let this happen. They are going to resist.
And so not only do we see now the school itself, like the building, rising up, but the rest of the faculty seems to be on board too.
Right. And here's the thing. There's talks of Peeves being expelled from school and told to leave. And we didn't see what happened with that because Filch was kind of just excited about it, but nothing had actually happened yet.
Yeah.
But if the rest of Hogwarts could get Peeves on their side, like once he knows that like there's a potential that this mad woman and her henchmen are going to kick him out of the school, he, out of anybody, is going to be first on that line to fight back against this.
Sure. And
he's not going to take any prisoners.
I mean, honestly, if you think about it, he kind of has the same mentality as Fred and George.
Right. Except he has nothing to lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, Fred and George are, like, 17. Like, they have their whole lives ahead of them. Their whole careers ahead of them. Peeves is just a ghost. Like, whatever. What are you going to do to me, you know? Like, I'm already dead here, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go find another castle to hang out in? Ooh. So, yeah. They need to recruit Peeves. Someone needs to inform him that he's on his way out if he doesn't help them, and that's a very valuable ally to have.
Sure.
Because, yeah, he's going to have some fun with this if he's brought into the mix. Okay. We had the dream again.
We do.
That's all I want to say about that.
Your favorite part.
Yep. All right, cool. Moving on. No, honestly, like, I'm sure you guys want to hear me, like, sit here. I don't care. I still don't care, Matt. I'm just like, they understand. They got into another room. Ugh, I don't care.
We still didn't get a lot of description. I mean, he went into one. I think he got through two more doors this time.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up in a room with, do you remember what was in there?
Like flickering lights, right?
I think that was the first room.
Oh, okay. I don't know, man. I was so uninterested in what was going on.
All right.
What was in the second room?
Let's see. Let me pull up the exact description here so I don't throw things off too much.
Yeah. The flickering lights I remember just because it came back at the end of the chapter, but
sure.
I don't know. The best thing about these dream sequences is finding out how Harry gets woken up and how mad he is every time he gets woken up. Like, he's just ready to jump up and start fighting somebody. He's like, why did you wake me up out of this dream? And everybody's like, we don't know that you're dreaming. Like, we have no, knowledge of where you're at in your dream world. But he's always ready to fight somebody when he jumps up out of bed.
So the last room he was in says, and now he's in a dimly lit room as high and wide as a church, full of nothing but rows and rows of towering shelves, each laden with small, dusty, spun glass spheres.
Mm.
Now, Harry's heart was beating fast with excitement. He knew where to go. He moved forward. There was something in this room he wanted very, very much.
Right. And nobody cared. Look, everybody's excited for me to find out what it is. Cool. That's only because you guys know what's ahead.
Sure.
For me, it's just like, okay, cool, another dream. Couldn't care less about. Let's move on.
All right. You heard the man. Let's move on.
Snape and Harry.
Yes.
I wonder if this is where we're going to get the title of this chapter.
Seem logical. Yeah.
I'm thinking, how does Snape feel about the current state of the school here with Dumbridge in charge? Like, where does he stand with all of this? Because he closely works with Dumbledore. I'm still cautious about like their relationship and how much he is fond of Dumbledore or not, but we definitely know that he's not a fan of Dumbridge. So like, Snape's kind of striking me as that character to like a little chaos in his life. So
Yeah.
just curious what he thought of all of this, So he starts teaching Harry, or not teaching, but going over their class for whatever it is that it was called.
Occlumency.
Occlumency, there we go. And he gets interrupted by Malfoy, because Malfoy is the worst.
Perfect timing. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And Snape and him leave the room, leaving Harry there alone.
So, do you catch why he had to leave?
I don't even remember. I'm sure I did.
There's a kid that was Montague, the boy that
the twins disappeared.
Yep, put in the vanishing cabinet.
Right.
And they found him jammed inside a toilet.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, how far in are you jammed? Like, we've seen someone in the toilet, but that was a ghost.
Sure.
Very fluid, very flexible.
Yep.
No questions as to how you get in a toilet or how you fit in. Like, not questioning it at all.
Right.
This boy showed up jammed inside a toilet.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my mind, it's not just, oh, my foot's caught in this toilet. It's my lower half is caught in this toilet. And so, like, he's sitting there sticking out of this toilet. Like, I just can't imagine, like, even in a magical world, I think that has to be painful.
Probably uncomfortable.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I would say uncomfortable. Because we're also talking about a world where they could travel in and out of chimneys and such.
Sure.
And it always seems like it's a tight fit in the chimneys, in the food system, but not painful.
I don't think their toilets are that magical.
Well, we don't know that.
I guess we don't know that, but
Things can expand to fit their...
in my mind, they've never been quite that magical.
Sure. Maybe they're just expanding toilets. They expand, the traps expand to allow whatever needs to go through the trap through without cloggage.
Sure.
It's not like they have like a bunch of magical plumbers running around.
I was going to say, remove the need for a plumber.
Exactly, yeah. So if like the traps expand to fit things going through one direction, vice versa, it could also happen.
Yeah.
And it expands just enough to where it's as big as it needs to be, but it's not, it's still tight enough for...
that he gets stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, he'd pull himself out.
Yeah.
But they said, like, yeah, he's basically trapped. So.
Sure. Okay. Snape and Malfoy gone.
Yep.
Harry alone. Snape's office.
Yes.
What kind of trouble could this boy get into, huh?
Well, nothing if he just walks out the door.
Sure, but that's not Harry Potter, is it?
Nope. Distracted.
We wouldn't have a series, Matt, if Harry Potter just walked out and ignored temptation.
Harry Potter and the time he ignored everyone.
Harry Potter and that time when he didn't do anything bad.
No distractions.
The pensieve, the memory bowl.
Got it.
It's sitting there. It still, of course, has the memories that Snape pulled out of his head before he began the lesson, as he always does.
Yep.
Every lesson.
Snape, you forgot something.
Mm-hmm. He rushed out there without thinking about reinstalling that memory back into his head. And I'm going to say this right now. Why would he even want to put that back into his head? Other than it possibly being like a driving force behind like his just bitterness and anger in life, there's not a lot of benefits I could see personally to keeping this memory in his head.
Sure.
If you have the option to remove that kind of stuff and just store it away for later, why wouldn't you?
So no one else can get their hands on it. It's going to be a lot safer in his head.
I guess so. But man, that's a heavy burden to walk around with, you know?
Yep.
Okay, so Harry, of course, bees the Harry Potter that we know and love, and decides to jump into the pensieve. Not literally jump in, but stick his head in. And
Just kind of gently tip in.
swish it around in there to see what this memory that Snape has been hiding from him is. Flashback. I really hope this is in the movie too, like as a flashback sequence. Like that would be really rad.
Yeah.
Back in time. Back in Flitwick's classroom. Because that guy has been there forever.
So just to
Not classroom.
clarify, yeah,
The
not
Great
in his
Hall.
classroom. They're in the Great Hall, yep.
Yeah. Taking the owls?
Yes.
Okay.
Their Defense Against Dark Arts
Sure.
owls, to be specific.
Which actually like makes a lot of sense to me because I remember like having to take the SATs. The SATs weren't done in class, like they were always in the gymnasium or
Mhm.
the cafeteria or something.
Yep.
So like I had a weird connection to that of like, yeah, that makes total sense. Of course they're not in the
Exactly.
classroom.
Yeah. It doesn't strike you as odd,
Yeah. Not at
even
all.
here in America.
Yeah.
We understand this one. That's a first.
Yay, not the Americans today. So, Flitwick's teaching. There's some kids in this class that we are familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
First, we have angsty teenage emo Snape sitting there
Yep.
behind
His
Harry.
greasy hair, his greasy nose,
His hook nose. Ugh.
nose
yeah.
almost touching the paper.
Anyway, this is his memory, so of course he's going to be in it. That's...
He better. That'd be a trick if he wasn't.
Then we find good old messy hair James Potter
Yes.
and Sirius
Yep.
and Lupin
Yep.
and stupid Wormtail.
Yes.
The Marauders are here.
They are.
They are present.
All classmates of Snape. Yes.
Yep. All right. So, interesting. Not sure where this is going, but I'm intrigued. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it James that was scrawling the LE on his
Yes.
parchment? Okay.
Yes. James is, yeah.
What does LE stand for, Matt?
And that's the question everybody has for you.
You guys suck. I did not put much thought into this. I did for like a brief second, but then the memory kept getting really good, so I had to like recalibrate my brain to focus on what was going on, you know?
Sure.
And I haven't even thought about it until now when I'm reading my notes. It's like, oh yeah, that thing. LE.
Any guesses?
Oh,
Anything at
I
all?
know.
What?
Lily Evans.
That would make sense.
Yeah. Because they kept saying her last name,
Well, you see, and that's
which
the thing.
threw me
like,
off.
The first time, James just refers to her as Evans,
Yeah.
Evans,
hmm
and then later on, it's like and Lily. Like,
Yeah.
they never put Lily and Evans together.
Right. So that's what it has to be, right?
That would be a logical guess.
Pretty good guess. All right, nailed it. Yeah, because it threw me off, like referring to her as Evans, because I'm like, obviously, if there's a girl in the story, it's gonna be Lily, you know.
Yeah,
But she didn't have Potter's last name at that
I was
point.
gonna say I did not list her as a new character.
No, I didn't even think twice about it. Like, of course, it was Harry's mom. Like,
Yeah,
we weren't just gonna get some random girl into the story, especially in a flashback where we have very limited time to tell a story.
what are you
It's gonna
talking?
be
We had
somebody
Stebbins.
Look, Flitwick had to be doing something at the time. And also, he was referenced one time, Matt.
Yeah,
Lily
yeah.
was an integral part of like why this memory was a big deal.
Yes,
So, that's all I'm saying.
I understand.
Okay. Anyway, I quickly realized that I would give a lot of money and time and effort into a Marauders spin-off series.
Sure.
I'm sure people have been asking for that since these books came out.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone there. Yeah.
It's like just following that whole crew around.
Mm-hmm.
They've got into some things.
Yeah. The good news is that means that there's a lot of unofficial media regarding the Marauders.
Sure, I bet there is.
Whether it be fanfic or I'm pretty sure there's even some. I don't know that they're full-fledged movies, but at least shorts, I think, regarding the Marauders as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wonder if we might see the Marauders as the Fantastic Beasts series continues. You know, like, will those timelines start to cross?
Well, seeing as I shouldn't say that necessarily. Yeah, it really depends where the end of the Fantastic Beasts series ends.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're far apart.
Like we definitely know some things that are going to happen towards the end of it.
Right.
But like I don't know if that's going to be like the end of the last movie. The end of the fifth movie is that incident, or if that's going to be like the end of the fourth movie, and then we get a little bit more interim in the fifth. I don't know.
Sure,
but yeah,
I'm just wondering if there's eventually going to be crossover. You know?
Yeah.
Because as far as we know, I mean, as far as we've gotten in these books that we're reading now, like the Marauders is kind of like the beginning of this whole story, essentially, right?
You could say that, yeah. Because that's the beginning of James. Like that's where his story begins, basically, when he's at Hogwarts.
Right. I mean, we get references to like days gone by, like many years down the road, textbooks and whatnot. But like as far as like our story is concerned, James Potter being a kid at Hogwarts is kind of the start of everything.
Kind of, yeah. Like you could argue that the beginning would be when Tom Riddle was at Hogwarts.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, I forgot those were different times.
Yeah, like Riddle is not one of their classmates.
That's right. Okay. For some reason, I was putting them all together.
Yeah, because he's the other flashback we've had.
Okay.
But yeah, like
and that's fair because Hagrid was also there too.
Yeah,
so.
Riddle and Hagrid.
Okay.
Their flashback is well before James and the Marauders.
Okay, that's
Snape
fair.
And the Marauders, if you want to. Yeah.
But as far as Harry Potter's story is concerned, James Potter being at Hogwarts would kind of be the start of that. Then, as I know the story to be right now.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah, Tom Riddle and Hagrid being at Hogwarts, like that's getting closer then to potential Fantastic Beasts storylines, I would imagine.
Closer than we were before.
Huh. Anyway, I'm going off on a weird tangent there. Marauders, I just want to know more about them. At this point, I'm like excited because like they're telling us about like how cool they are, basically.
Yeah.
Like these dudes are running the school,
Pretty much.
Sirius is a total babe.
Yes.
He's the handsome one of the bunch, and he knows it and he works it. And
which honestly, from what we've seen of Sirius so far, like the first time we met him was after 13 years in Azkaban.
Right.
So he definitely did not look the same.
A sight for sore eyes. But so, also like this kind of reminded me of like all the references of Harry getting advice on women from Sirius.
Yep.
And I even like commented several times, like he didn't even know about, like he wasn't a ladies' man. Okay, turns out he was probably quite the ladies' man. So yeah, eggs on my face. James Potter playing with a snitch, like it's no big deal. Like he's just letting it go, catching it, showing off essentially.
Although. It also basically tells us at the same time that he's a thief.
Right. It's
like, where'd you get that? Oh, I nicked it.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
This is the equivalent of like the high school all-star football quarterback, like sitting there with a football and like throwing it up in the air or spinning it on his finger.
Yeah, but he brought that football from home, probably.
Not necessarily. He could have stole it from the locker room.
Equipment room, sure, okay.
You
Suppose he could have,
it's
yeah.
still school property. I mean, football's probably less of a big deal than the Golden Snitch is,
Yeah,
but
he's just gonna bring it back to practice at the end of the day.
yeah, just likes messing with it, keeps him busy. The basketball player,
Dribbling down
the
the
ball,
hallway. Yep.
spinning on his finger, Globetrotter style. And then Lupin is doing what Lupin does, and that's reading books.
Exactly. What would totally make sense for someone who, I mean, later turns out to be a teacher.
Yeah. And then Wormtail, of course, is just sitting there just celebrating and cheering on James and being his number one fan, and it's very Colin Creevy like, and it's kind of creepy. So, all right, so they're just hanging out by the lake, doing their marauder thing, and then the tone changed quite a bit, Matt.
Yeah.
I was getting excited. I was happy. I was like, yes, the Marauders are really cool. I love these guys. And then Severus Snape comes back into the picture.
Yeah, he's always kind of been hanging around, but yeah, they bring him up again directly.
It turns out the Marauders, specifically James and Sirius, like I feel bad incorporating Lupin into this.
Yeah.
And while he didn't actively participate, he also didn't stop it.
Exactly. Like, he was there the whole time. He obviously knew what was going on.
Right. He was guilty by association 100%.
Yes, because he didn't do anything to step in. And like we've mentioned before, when Dumbledore kind of talked about him, and Lupin kind of mentioned that he might have been there to kind of rein them in.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of why they were lumped together. It's like, yeah, you're not really doing your job here.
Right. Yeah, he was supposed to be like the level-headed one of the group, and I feel like probably those two overwhelmed him sometimes, and like he couldn't stop them,
And honestly, it almost becomes like 3-on-1, because it's James and Sirius,
yeah,
and then Wormtail, like, he's so amused by it,
right,
that he's, one, not going to stop them, and two, going to be sad to see them stop, or be stopped.
Right. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the awful, horrible, disgusting bullying that occurred with the Marauders and Snape, or Snivelous Snape, as they called him.
Yes.
I was really uncomfortable during all of this, Matt.
As I think you should be.
Like, it wasn't just bullying. It wasn't just like just picking on him or calling him names. Like, they were actively doing everything that they could to make him as miserable as possible.
Yeah.
At that moment.
Yeah, they were very much going out of their way to attack him.
And it didn't feel like this was the first time either. I think that was the most disturbing part. Like, it wasn't like this was a one-time thing where they were, like something instigated them and they just started doing this. This felt all too familiar, and they were far too comfortable with what was going on.
Yeah, it started because Sirius was basically like, I'm bored. I want some entertainment.
Right.
And James was like, well, here, I know what you like.
Yeah. We've done this before, and this always gets a rise out of you, so let's go back to this well.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of Snape, wrong place, wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he crossed his field of vision at that moment. It's like, hold on a minute, light bulb.
Right.
I got an idea.
But that was the most upsetting part, was it didn't feel like that was the first time Snape had been through that with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because Snape, like, tried to fight back, but he also wasn't completely caught off guard, it felt. Like, he was kind of used to it. He fed up and frustrated and angry about it, but also, unfortunately, used to it.
Yeah, how fast he got to his wand.
Mm-hmm. He's like,
Like,
here we go again.
unfortunately, James was always one step ahead of him. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just made me really mad. And it kind of ruined the glow that the Marauders had on them up until this point.
Yeah.
You know, Harry has looked at them in such high regard since he's known about them. You know, he's always wanted to believe his dad was, you know, the best. We know how much he loves Sirius and how much he respects and appreciates Lupin.
Yep.
And it's like, no, they were mean, miserable kids when they were his age. And
yeah.
It kind of sounds like they were Malfoy in gang. Like they were the bullies.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it and you know these boys, the Marauders were in Gryffindor, and Snape was Slytherin. Like I said, it's almost an exact role reversal.
Yeah. Which made me, who's been sitting here for 64 episodes now, saying how bad Slytherin is, I'm like, whoa, stop. I need to stop this because there is now proof right in front of me that Slytherin weren't always the ones instigating and bullying and being the bad guys, essentially, you know, quote unquote bad guys.
Yep.
And I start feeling bad about everything I've ever said and how much I should have been listening to everybody. And I have all these range of emotions going on, right?
Yeah.
Lily comes in and she tries to stop the bullying. She comes to Snape's rescue.
Yep. Which is weird to hear in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, from what we know so far about Snape and Slytherin and all that type of stuff, like coming to Snape's rescue, saving Snape, like those words shouldn't have to be said from what we know of these characters.
No, this just
up until this point
feels wrong on every level, you know?
Yeah.
The best part of this, which was the only thing that like took me out of my incredibly grumpy mood that I was suddenly in, was the giant squid reference, where she said she would rather go out with a giant squid than James Potter because he was saying, hey, if you go out with me, I'll stop bullying him. She's like, no, giant squid's ahead of you in this line here, buddy. I'm like, hey, what's that say about the giant squid?
Yeah.
You should love that thing. Careful, Lily. Careful who you're talking to. So James is just being just a total jerk right now. And just an utter bully. Lily's trying to help Snape and trying to save him, I guess, but like just stop it. Like she knows that it's gone way too far and it just needs to stop at this point.
And this might be one of those things, like you said, it's not the first time it's happened, so she's probably seen this before.
Yeah. And I don't know if she's ever tried to intervene. But if not, like this was finally like the breaking point of just like this. I'm done. I'm done seeing this. This poor kid doesn't deserve it. You know, he didn't do anything to start this. He was, like you said, wrong place, wrong time. And he's getting bullied and teamed up on, and this has to stop. And I'm thinking, okay, great. I'm so glad that at least one of Harry Potter's parents was a good person that I know of.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, okay, that's where he gets the Gryffindor from, is her, because she's awesome right now. She's helping somebody who needs help. I love this so much. And at the same time, I'm like, man, when I was like talking about how like Snape and like how he was treated by his parents, like I shouldn't, JK was trying to make us feel sympathy for him, but I still didn't feel it because he was still kind of creepy and strange and weird as a kid. And I'm like, well, holy cow. Not only was he all of that, but he was also getting severely bullied at school for who knows how long, you know, could have been from his first year at Hogwarts for all we know. So he's had to deal with all that. Of course, Snape is the way he is, you know, like, I'm mad at everything right now, Matt. And then, as if that wasn't enough, Snape throws out the mudblood.
He does.
Insult to Lily. And I'm just like, Dude,
Why?
you had me on your team.
Exactly. One person who's on your side right now.
I was Team Snape there for a second. And you go that route? And now I'm just more conflicted than ever. Because it's like, okay, he was bullied, but at the same time, like, he still has that mentality of pureblood families are superior to everybody else, and, you know, gross! And I don't know if he was just, like, caught up in the moment, and, like, he didn't know how to react. But then a part of me is just like, no, that's just who he is. And he just tricked me into, like, being on Team Snape for a half a second. And now I have to hate him again. But I still hate the Marauders now, too. And I hate everybody but Lily. She's the only one that came out unscathed in this whole thing.
Sure.
He has his mother's eyes.
He does.
Thankfully. I just hate everybody, Matt. I feel bad for Harry because now, like, his heroes and are tarnished, and he knows all this about Snape and how bad he was, but he was still bullied, and at least he knows at this point his mother was a good person.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing to come out of all of this.
Yeah. The scary part is how he decides, like, Snape, like, he knows how Snape feels.
Yeah.
He can empathize with Snape now.
Right.
And on some level, that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like, you never would have thought that I not necessarily want to be in the same place as Snape, but the fact that you are in the same place as Snape,
sure,
is a little disconcerting, I think.
But at the same time, Snape, deep down, like, still had some very bad thoughts and feelings directed at people that weren't, quote-unquote, as good as him.
Sure.
You know? So then, like, how... Even if you sympathize with the position that Snape was in, it's still hard to put yourself in the shoes of somebody that has hate for other people because of who they are and what families they were born into.
Yeah. So
it's emotionally just a nuclear bomb that went off in this chapter. I come away with it thinking, at least Lily's okay. You know? Good old Mrs. Potter. She's still good. Will that change? Who knows at this point? But you know what? At least Lily's okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most we've really seen from Harry's parents. We've seen them as a reflection in a mirror.
Yeah.
We've seen them as coming out of Voldemort's wand and providing a shield. Like,
stories that, you know, have been told from their friends, you know?
Yeah, a little bit there. But yeah, this was... Harry got to spend basically half an hour watching them.
Yeah. And I don't know how to walk away from this chapter feeling betrayed by the Marauders, feeling very conflicted about Snape, and just not... Like, how do I look at Lupin and Sirius now going forward and still be okay with who they are as characters?
Yeah.
Like, do I just chalk it up to them being dumb kids? Like, if they were taking their owls, they were 15, right?
Yep. Same age as Harry is right now.
So they might be dumb, but that doesn't give them a pass for how they acted. And did the bullying keep going on? Like, it's not like that scene right there changed them for the rest of their lives and made them better people. So I walk away from this just depressed and angry and emotionally scarred, Matt.
Sure.
I don't like it.
I understand.
Harry doesn't like it either because he got caught by Snape with his head in the memory bowl, which we all saw coming. If nobody didn't expect anything else. You guys aren't reading the same book because, of course, Harry's going to get caught.
Harry's going to, yeah. He gets to watch the memory and just walk out of the classroom and go back to bed. Okay.
Yeah, he's
exciting chapter.
He's going to purposely remove himself from this as he's, seeing all this for the first time. No, he's going to stay in there until he gets caught.
I was going to say, it doesn't matter if that's the only memory there. He's going to sit there and watch it on repeat.
Yep, absolutely. Trying to figure things out. So Snape catches him. He's super angry. He throws stuff and snaps at Harry, justifiably so, and basically says he never wants to see him again, never wants to teach him ever again. Yep. Done.
Yep.
The Snape-Harry Potter relationship is over. Where does it go from here? I have no idea. I don't know how anybody comes back from this a better place than when we started. I don't know.
Yep.
That's it, Matt. I couldn't take any more of that. Like, I don't know if you intentionally just gave me one chapter because you knew I couldn't take more than that one chapter, or what your reasoning was when you decided before we began this book what chapters we would be reading on which week, but I couldn't do any more than that if I had to.
Well, there you go. Worked out for us.
So let's go to something happy instead.
All right.
Let's check out the Muggle poll, shall we?
Let's do it.
The Muggle poll we put up on our Twitter account at Tales from GH. Matt puts it up every Monday afternoon about 4 p.m. Pacific time. Always has something to do with the reading for the week. Has a fun question, lots of fun choices. Lets us figure out who you guys, the listening audience, really are. Dun, dun, dun. What's the question this week, Matt?
So, I will put this disclaimer out there. We are actually recording a little bit earlier than usual this week. Mm-hmm. And with the, kind of shorter episode, I guess, there's actually still an hour left in this poll.
Okay.
So, numbers could change a little bit because they've actually been swinging a lot more than I would have expected in first place.
Okay.
The first place answer isn't going to change. There's just no way. But the next three choices have been kind of changing places all night.
Sure.
So, if you look at this later and the numbers are different, that's why. Anyway, question. Like I said, moving back to something happier. Our happy point this chapter, Fred and George. You can only afford one single Weasley's Wildfire Whiz Bang.
Mm.
They're good with their product names too.
They are, yeah.
So we got quite a few examples in this chapter,
mm-hmm.
and I was able to include most of them here. Of course, get the big dragon. There was the bats.
Right.
The Catherine wheels.
Why do they call them the Catherine wheels? I was trying to figure out, based on the description of what they were doing, why they were called that, and I wasn't making any sort of connection.
So this is actually like an actual term used with fireworks.
Okay.
Like, this isn't something she made up. It is... It's... Like, you've probably seen them too, just maybe not known what they're called. It's, like it states, a wheel. And it's usually mounted in the center, but I think... Or maybe it's slightly off-center or something to give it the effect. But... It shoots out like from all the spokes of the wheel, right? And normally it's going to give you kind of like maybe like a pinwheel looking effect,
mm-hmm.
if it's like stationary.
Okay.
So just kind of picture that, like fireworks going in that giant pinwheel effect. Like,
sure.
It's all over the place. So now you set these loose, and that's what you're seeing in the castle.
But why called a Catherine wheel?
I believe it actually has something to do with a saint.
Oh.
I think I looked this up a long time ago.
Okay.
I something about Saint Catherine, I believe, There's some story about like she would touch wagon wheels and they would kind of like explode or something, or break or something like that.
Huh. Okay.
And so the Catherine wheel is this thing's going everywhere.
Okay. So there is some sort of historical significance that has nothing to do with like the Harry Potter universe.
Yes.
Okay. I was trying to make some connection to something that we already knew about, and I wasn't remembering anything.
This isn't really Harry Potter related. It's not something J.K. made up for the story. It's not anything like that.
Okay.
It's something like if you knew your fireworks history, you would know about.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough.
So yeah, the Catherine wheel or the infamous swearing sparklers.
What did the people say out there, Matt?
I think you can guess what they said.
The bats.
Nice try.
Oh. Right?
There's a reason. Yeah. We don't have to explain the dragon, remember? Sorry, Alex told us this.
No explanation needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So currently we have 70% on the dragon.
Wow.
And like I said, the other three have been changing places all night.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we actually have a tie for second.
Okay.
With the Catherine wheel and the swearing sparklers at 11%.
Okay.
And the bats at 8%. So it's still close.
What did you pick, Matt?
I had to go with the dragon.
Yeah, I knew you would.
Yeah.
I think I have a little bit more rebellion in me than most of you folks out there.
Of course you do.
I think I'm a little bit more connected to the twins than I'd like to admit sometimes. Yeah, the swearing sparkler, I think would be... I think that would be the most chaotic in a place like Hogwarts.
I can see that, yeah. Definitely.
Know?
It'd be like the other ones, yeah, they're fireworks, yeah, they're dangerous, they're gonna set stuff ablaze, and
right,
like they're gonna be annoying, but yeah, the swearing sparklers are gonna cause the most disruption, especially
with Dumbridge running the place. Like if Dumbledore was in charge, like he would just laugh and move on. You know, he'd be like, "That's funny." You know, he's like writing words down. He's like, "I'm gonna have to use that later." But like Dumbridge, like she's like personally offended by that kind of stuff.
I wonder if they taught it to spell out Dumbridge.
That would be fantastic. I would pay good money for that. I mean, not that I would ever pay money for illegal fireworks, Matt, but if the opportunity arose. Just saying. That was fun. Good question.
Thanks.
Nice lighthearted question to bring us back into out of depression and funk. I like it.
There you go.
But let's dive back down into the depths of darkness here and jump into the emails, shall we?
But you love the email section.
I do love the emails, but I'm just not looking forward to what everybody says about this chapter.
All right.
Emails could always be sent to Matt over at talesfromgodric's@gmail.com. We have a lot of fun reading them, especially all you new listeners, first-time listeners. If you haven't written in an email, why haven't you? Now's the time. Do it. What's our first email?
All right. First email this week comes from Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
Says, when the discussion of Josh knowing many facts about otters, and he made the joke of the Ottercast. I was reminded of a particular image that was used on a T-shirt in at my area aquarium several years back. And says, thought you would enjoy.
Okay.
So I am going to have to send this to you. If I can find it. I prepped these, but no, I don't know where I put it. There it is.
Can I just say that I'm glad somebody appreciated my Ottercast joke?
Oh, there are multiple people, apparently.
I can barely see this right now, but I already love it. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Harry Otter.
Harry Otter. If I had a pet otter, I know I'm naming him Harry. 100%.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So thank you, Rachel, for sending that in.
Oh, goodness.
Next email comes from Kayla.
Hi, Kayla.
Says, Matt and Josh, I have been loving your podcast. I just started listening 2 months ago and caught up quickly. Familiar.
Congrats.
Yep. I often find myself talking out loud to you, and on the odd occasion you get a detail wrong. There are two things I want to email you about since fairly early on.
Uh-oh.
First, the movies. I was obsessed with books and have read them countless times. When I first saw the movies, I hated them because they missed so many things that make the story great. Also, I felt they ruined my mental picture of Hogwarts and the characters that I loved. It actually led me to boycotting the movies for years. So I was selfishly delighted when Josh felt the same way. But the good news is now, more removed from my reading of the books, I have come to love the movies too. I hope the same happens for Josh.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Second is just a fun fact. I am one of 4 children, all girls, and each of us proudly claims a different Hogwarts house, and the rivalry is real. Obviously, Ravenclaw wins every time.
Do they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you there, Kayla. Next email then comes from Edgar.
Hi, Edgar.
Says, Dear Josh and Matt, keep up the good work. You're doing a great job with the podcast, though sometimes the professor gets things wrong and I have to shout at my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And other times I just laugh out loud when Josh throws his theories around like a machine gun. And sometimes he gets some things kilometers away and some spot on. As someone already mentioned, he already got the most important twist in the story. People around me think I'm crazy, but the joke is on them. They're not listening to your podcast. Keep up the good work. Your podcast helps me pass the time in the crazy Delhi traffic, like over in India, Delhi.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what kind of traffic could be in a deli?
No, Delhi.
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. I've heard traffic is pretty nuts over there.
Well, yeah, he says, which is a bit more stressful than LA. Perhaps, but I haven't actually been in LA, so I can't say for sure.
LA is just a lot of sitting there and doing nothing.
Yeah.
It's not stressful, it's just exhausting.
From what I've seen over in that part of the world, I would never even try driving over there.
Especially listening to us stupid Americans talk. That's your worst mistake.
Yeah. It says I also listen every time I go on Metro, which is a bit more crazy, as well as walking around the campus of the university.
Awesome.
Regards from India.
Well, thanks for writing in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's another country to add to our list.
Hold on. Question.
Yeah.
What's the most important twist that I already got right? I don't remember. Have I gotten anything big right already? Or have we not had that twist yet? Or have I said it, but it hasn't been confirmed, so I don't know that it actually is correct? What's he talking about? I'm so confused. Can you tell me?
We'll let you think about that.
Oh, Matt! Okay.
Next email comes in from Emily.
Hi, Emily.
It says, hello, Messrs. Josh and Matt. I'm about to start episode 37, and I'm pausing to send this owl with 5 thoughts.
1.
First, in an episode a while back, y'all were talking about goblins and Warwick Davis, and Matt used the term little person in reference to persons of short stature or dwarfism. I could have hugged you through the airwaves. I, too, am a little person and was inwardly bracing when that subject came up for the use of the more derogatory but more commonly used word. When you said little person, a wave of relief and comfort washed over me. I hope you can understand how wonderful it is to hear someone use the proper term, especially on a podcast that is literally being heard around the world. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you.
I will say you're welcome for Matt's sake.
Thanks.
We do try to be as inclusive as we possibly can in this podcast. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I'm not, it's because I'm ignorant and I don't know better.
Right. We are dumb. So. We are not malicious.
Yes. Also, on a side note, I have met Mr. Davis, and he is a wonderful man. He and his family are so kind, good people all around.
I bet.
So, I mean, that leaves me wondering. Like, I know he attends like Potter events from time to time. Like, he was just down at the last HP celebration.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't. Does he bring his family to that? Like, I don't know where you would meet. Not only
Or if he does
Warwick
like Comic
Davis,
Cons
but his family
and
too,
that kind
and
of stuff.
I suppose, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah,
or
maybe
we should just ran into him hanging out somewhere.
that's true. Honestly, I don't
mean,
know
it
where
doesn't
he
have
lives.
to be an event, so I mean,
Actually,
we need more information now.
Yeah.
When you
Well,
get to
it's
this
gonna be
episode.
Okay. So Emily is actually from Alaska,
Okay.
so that makes it even stranger. I'm guessing she was on vacation. I'm unless he was taking a vacation in Alaska, which I mean is entirely possible, I guess. But yeah, still would be interesting to find out.
He is from the UK.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he still currently lives there or not, but
Yeah. I mean, it's possible, but usually like actors and stuff like that, if they move to the U.S., they'll move to like L.A.
Mhm.
where they're close to the studios. But I don't know.
His Wikipedia page does not disclose where he is currently living.
Probably for good reason.
Yeah.
People love that guy.
Yep.
Second note. I believe I've mentioned before that I'm starting at the beginning of the podcast. I do not know if I've mentioned that I'm not listening to the current ones as they become available. I think we figured that out last week. I want to enjoy them from the beginning without confusing myself, because that is easily done. And I enjoy the continuity of Josh's discoveries as he reads. Because of this, I'm only on episode 37. I believe you guys are on about 65, close 64. So this is kind of working like time travel, which oddly enough, I think you mentioned last episode, Josh.
She's going to be just
Yeah.
thrilled when she gets to these podcasts.
Exactly. The episode I'm currently listening to is from late February 2017, but I'm writing this as I listen along. So when I get to those episodes in which my Twitter comments and emails are being read, they will be there waiting for me. It's kind of like I'm writing to you in the future, even though this is the past, like the time turner thing. I'm trying not to think about it too much because it hurts my head. I read that this week, and I'm like, oh, she is gonna love this. Like that was like all of last week. Like she is. Are you sure you didn't listen to episode 63? Like it's
She sounds like me spouting off just random theories that happen to be exactly spot on. Questions arise.
First it was Joe, and now it's Emily. Yeah.
All right. New BFF that she doesn't even know about yet.
Yeah. She says, I just had surgery 2 days ago. I can't ask her about this either.
Oh.
Now I have plenty of time in my hands to listen to the podcast as much as I'd like. Hopefully I will catch up soon, as I'm not looking forward to having to wait a whole week. Then she sounds like Tari Alex. 7 days, 168 hours, 10,080 minutes, or 604,800 seconds. Too much time in your hands, yes.
Yeah. I was going to say, I hope everything goes well or went well with your surgery, but we'll find out in 6 months when you write us back.
Eventually, I guess. Third thought, my Patronus, it like, how does she know that? The timing on this is crazy.
All right, I'm calling shenanigans on this.
My Patronus is a ginger cat. I mean, she's going through book 3, obviously. So
what cat?
Ginger cat.
Oh, okay. Is that a breed?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I'm
Continue.
not a cat person.
I know.
Initially, I was disappointed, hoping for something interesting like a porcupine or something wild like a bear. But the more I thought about it, the more it seemed to fit. I have had cats all of my life, and 2 that have personally been mine. I have been very attached to. They have always been there for me when I need them. So it makes me think that we don't always get what we want, but what we need. And while a ginger cat attacking Dementors seems like a joke, I'm sure it is more practical than Hermione's peaceful little otter bobbing towards them on an imaginary calm sea. Just saying.
Ginger cat, a.k.a. a tabby cat.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense.
You're familiar with the orange striped cats?
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I was picturing in my head.
Me too, but I just never heard it called that. But like, they are totally interchangeable terms for those
there
cats.
You go.
So.
Fourth thought. In the readings recently, there's been a lot of talk about houses and family members and how one fits into their house. I have two sisters. I am the oldest and the very definition of a Hufflepuff. I'm very loyal and loving and caring and put others before myself. I would also find it very advantageous that our house is located next to the kitchen, as I love to snack and love house elves. I honestly would spend a lot of time in the kitchen hanging out with them if I could. My sister Sarah is in the middle of us girls, and she is a Slytherin through and through. Yes, some may see her as a little bit evil, but that's okay. She's very determined to do things her own way and isn't very willing to compromise. And my youngest sister, Elena, I'm guessing, may have founded Ravenclaw House herself. She is unfairly smart, very realistic, and probably reads her own weight in books about once a month. That's a lot of books.
Wow.
Yeah. Some families who are very similar, not in a bad way, like the Weasleys, it makes sense that they're all in the same house. Then there are examples like the Patil twins, who may have been treated as one unit rather than two individual people, and thus seek to identify themselves as unique individuals, and because of that, got sorted into two different houses. It reminds me a lot of nature versus nurture, the debate that comes up in child development discussions. Fifth and final thought. In episode 36, we were introduced to our new headmistress, Mel B. Round of applause.
Yay.
It was in this moment that I realized her name was Mel B, not Melby. Melbee. And since she's from Australia, I was imagining in my head that our headmistress, Melby, from Melbourne, because that's where I signed her to be from, was so perfect. It was as if JK created her herself. I don't care that she's not from Melbourne, or if her name is spelled Mel B. I personally would like to welcome Headmistress Melby to her new office. That is all for now.
I mean, for all we know, Mel B could just be pulling a fast one on us.
No. Unless Mel is short for Melby, that would be amazing.
Who knows?
But I'm pretty sure it's not.
Okay.
Actually, I know it's not, but
Fair enough.
I'll let you think that.
Guy has to dream, Matt.
Yep. All right. Next email comes from Masha.
Hi, Masha.
It says, Dear Josh and Matt, only when I started to read the chapter, I remembered how jam-packed it is. It starts off with Malfoy behaving like an opportunistic, nasty git, as usual, and with the twins definitely being up to no good. But first, Harry has to meet with Umbridge, the new headmistress. Good thing he remembers Moody and doesn't drink from the tea, most likely spiked with Veritas serum. We learned that Umbridge indeed saw Sirius in the fireplace. But we have no time to worry about that, because what follows is utterly delightful Fred and George mayhem. I want those fireworks. It's so funny how Umbridge tries to get control over the situation. I particularly like the scene when she chides Filch for using a stunning spell, and he says, "Right you are, headmistress." I love the teacher's subversive behavior and all the silly fireworks, including the sparklers resolutely spelling out the word poo. Made me laugh.
Yeah.
But this book is a roller coaster. The dream again, and other than Josh, I wanted to know. Other than Josh, I wanted to know the secret behind it. I was as irritated as Harry when the firecracker woke him up. Harry and Cho break up over Marietta. I have difficulties understanding why Cho is standing up for her. Someone who sells me out isn't a friend. It's not as if Marietta didn't have a choice. She could have left the first meeting without joining in the first place. I wonder if Madame Pomfrey really doesn't know what to do about Marietta's face.
Or she's just messing with her.
if that's her form of...
I like that.
Yeah, I like it too.
I don't know. Pomfrey seems like she's on the straight and narrow. Like, I don't think she would mess around regardless of who's in charge.
Yeah. She doesn't usually seem to care like who she's treating.
She has too much pride in her work.
Yeah. She says, anyway, I'm convinced that Snape would actually be able to do something about her condition.
Maybe.
And Snape. after what is one of the funniest scenes in the Harry Potter books follows one of the ugliest. James and Sirius were wealthy, smart, popular boys who found it entertaining to bully Snape. To Peter, it wouldn't have occurred to object, and Remus seemed uncomfortable but didn't intervene. And Snape lashed out at the person who tried to help him. Then Sirius has a nice one-liner for James, who wonders why Lily is so hostile. Reading between the lines, I'd say she thinks you're a bit conceited. Yeah. Don't have to read between the lines, thanks, though. No. Then they continue to bully young Snape, as we, along with Harry, suddenly have to face the adult Snape, who is beside himself. Snape fails to recognize that Harry is shocked by what he just saw and treats Harry as if he was responsible for his father's behavior. And Harry is overwhelmed because he had never had the chance to learn that his parents are human beings with flaws.
Big time.
Yeah.
Well, one of them is.
That we've seen.
Yeah.
I'm sure young James and Sirius were cool and fun to hang out with, yet at the same time, they are absolutely disgusting. I really like Harry, but it still wasn't a good thing when he was... It wasn't a good thing. Snape and Draco behave horribly, but we only get to see them from Harry's point of view. It definitely doesn't get easier. Josh, I sure hope that chapter was more than meh, because I really wish for you to enjoy these books as much as I enjoy this podcast.
Yeah. Again, everything in that chapter was more than meh, except for the dream.
Sure.
Yeah. Up, down, good, bad, it had it all. It just, unfortunately, was riddled in that middle section with a meh. Like this book.
Yep.
This chapter was a perfect reflection of this entire book, I just realized.
Yeah.
Strong start, and then meh, and then strong finish.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, continue.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's all good. We like your reactions. I'm not going to stop you. Next email comes from Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Says, hi, Matt and Josh. For the first time listening to your podcast, I had to rewind something that Matt said. Yes. Not because of your accent, but the word cheesehead. I was stopped in my tracks wondering, is he talking about sports again? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What does cheese have to do with football? I didn't even think about this when we read in the emails last week.
Did Kim Google it? Does she know yet?
A couple of weeks ago, while I was channel surfing, I came across an obscure channel that actually shows American football games.
Whoa.
Thought, I'll watch this and try to figure out the rules. But right then and there, I can tell you that's a bad idea.
The players of the NFL don't even know the rules.
If you want to learn, you honestly need to watch it with someone who knows the rules so they can explain things to you. That's the best way to do it, the best way to go about it. Yeah. Trying to figure out on your own is just going to be a mess. I guarantee it. She says, well, I'm none the wiser. There seem to be a lot of guys that I would describe as wearing motorbike helmets and oversized shoulder pads in a line running at each other.
Yeah.
They get a meter, I don't do yards, and stop. Then they all stand around and some guy on the sidelines yells a lot. Mm-hmm. Then they all line up again. I may have watched a bad game, and if I'm honest, probably only watched about 10 minutes, but they seem to go backwards a lot more than they go forwards. And there was no mention of cheese. So I had to go Google, and I was surprised that this cheesehead really is a thing. There were endless pictures of people with bizarre cheese hats. More surprisingly, as the wiki entry explains, there was a wiki entry about the first cheese hat. But Matt, you still have to explain because the internet has failed me. I still don't get how cheese was chosen as your fan theme. And even more important than an explanation, I will be expecting a picture of you in your cheese hat in this week's show notes. So,
Matt, do you have a cheese head? Of course you do. That's not even a question, is it?
Well, you see, that's where everybody's going to get mad at me.
You don't have
because we've talked about this.
Uh-huh.
How big a fan I am of the Packers. You always rag on me for it.
Yeah.
I do not own a cheesehead.
What?
I
By choice or just circumstance?
Circumstance.
Okay. It's not
Yeah.
like you've actively said, nope, I don't want to own a cheesehead.
No. If I had one, I'd wear it.
Okay.
Especially at the game. Like when I go to games, I'd totally wear it.
Sure. I mean, that's the only way to fit in.
Yeah. I guess one of the things that might prevent me from it is like, this might sound like a weird excuse, but
Try me.
I run warm temperature wise, like physically.
Okay.
And so two of the biggest things that trap heat in your body are the top and bottom, like heat,
yep.
like the extremities.
Yep.
So putting, socks keep me really warm.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with hats. They keep you really warm.
Sure.
So you won't find me wearing a hat very often.
Fair enough.
Especially not if I'm inside the house. So unless I'm at a game, which, I mean, happens if I'm lucky once a year, usually not even that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have a lot of opportunity.
Sure.
I tend to show my pride with all my jerseys.
Okay.
I have plenty of Packer jerseys, but
all right, fair enough.
Honestly, yeah, I do not own a cheesehead, so unfortunately, I will not be able, unless I Photoshop something.
So as far as like the origin of the cheesehead, it's correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going to throw this out here.
Yeah, go for it. You know your football.
Wisconsin is where the Green Bay Packers play.
Yep.
Wisconsin is very well known for their delicious cheeses.
We are the dairy state.
The dairy state, like the staple of Wisconsin, is cheese. And I mean, what better way to show appreciation for your only football team in the state than by celebrating with cheese on your head?
Close.
Okay. I really don't know more than that.
So it really actually, we have to thank the great fans down in our rival state of Illinois, because it was the folks down there who actually probably were the ones who really coined the term cheesehead.
Okay. Gotcha.
But they were trying to use it in a derogatory manner.
Are we talking about the Chicago Bear fans?
Yeah, the Bears.
The Bears, the team that we should not speak of.
The Bears.
No, they're okay. They suck.
The Bears still suck.
So they called you guys, the fans of Green Bay Packers, cheeseheads, thinking, ha, this will get them.
Yep. But we fun-loving, kind folks here in Wisconsin, like, it's not going to bother us like you think it will. We're going to latch onto it and turn it into something good.
So the cheesehead is is in essence an anti-bullying campaign. You will not bully us. We will be strong and overcome your bullying by proudly displaying cheese on our heads.
Yes.
Huh,
yes.
I like it.
So now, this started back like in the 80s, I think, when it really became a thing.
Right.
So it's been around for a while. And I do have to give someone some credit. I don't know who to give credit to. And I don't know why it took them so long to come up with this retaliation of sorts. But one of the most clever things I've seen fans wearing at Packer games, this is fans of the other team,
mm-hmm.
is they actually wear cheese graters.
Okay.
So taking it one step further, and it's like, oh, don't worry, we can take care of that cheese for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Clever. I like it.
Yes, exactly. I'll always applaud cleverness.
Absolutely. Even when it's from the rivals, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, Cam, hope that helps explain dumb American football.
That's the thing. It doesn't explain football at all. But yeah, it's just Wisconsinites, our love for cheese, and Thank you, Illinois.
Yep.
You gave us something good.
Cool.
A couple of quick comments about the chapters. I really enjoyed the mayhem being unleashed by the twins. The only thing that would have made it better is if some of the mayhem had rained down on Malfoy. The kid had been given a tiny little bit of power and is ugly. Good to see Harry.
It's coming.
Good to see Harry is wiser and guarded with Umbridge rather than reactionary. Also true.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, Snape. Snape is my favorite character. Everyone has a backstory that shapes them in some way. J.K. gives us some background here about Snape, and it goes some way to explain his attitude towards Harry. But it does not excuse his behavior towards Harry. He is the adult and shouldn't be carrying a bias towards him based on his father's actions. An even bigger lesson in this chapter is for Harry, who has had his perception of his father changed. I think there is a point in every child's life when they come to realize that their parents have faults. Harry's lesson is to recognize this one interaction doesn't define his father, the same as Snape shouldn't be judged by his actions either. Looking forward to that hat pick.
And not just like your parents have faults, but like your heroes aren't.
Yeah, everybody.
Perfect.
Everybody. No one's perfect.
Yeah. But like your parents and your heroes as kids, or sometimes are the same.
Could be. Yeah.
Are more often than not, not always who you thought they were when you were younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, sometimes it's small and insignificant, and sometimes it's gigantic and very disappointing. But look, nobody's perfect. Ultimately.
Got it. Next email comes in from our headmistress, Marissa.
Hi, Marissa.
Says, hi, guys. I'm very excited to have another shirt from you guys. Matt knows this, that I had already pre-ordered it, but I can't have too many Harry Potter shirts. But I'm very excited to have this one.
Truth.
I do have a bone to pick. Josh got my name wrong last week.
Look.
It says, I get called Melissa, along with Martha, which I still don't understand, a lot at work because I answer phones for a living, and Marissa is not as common as Melissa. I'm still not pleased, but Josh makes up for it this week in his notes, which you'll see later in this email.
Okay. I know you're not pleased, and I can't apologize enough, but if I were to ever write your name incorrectly, like on an owl post, then just fire me from the show. Just replace me with somebody else.
I believe Artariax is always up for the job.
He's in the wings waiting at moment's notice.
Yep.
Okay.
About these chapters, we have a new headmistress. Too bad it's not like your Hogwarts headmistress. I'd much rather have Mel B be in charge. But alas, it is not so.
I'd much rather have Atari Alex in charge at this point.
Also true. Hogwarts is a better rumor mill than any high school that I was ever a part of. I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows what happened, but not quite the specifics. I would like to see Fudge with a pumpkin head, though.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. And Ernie gave us some info on what happened to Umbridge. I love that Hogwarts is actively working against her. The head office knows she has come to the job by evil means and will not let her besmirch the position.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I almost completely forgot about the Inquisitorial Squad. It's such nonsense. This is why there's a problem with giving students the power to dock points. I love that the twins are continuing and finishing each other's sentences. It's something I have been able to do with a couple of friends, not quite as consistently as they do. Weasleys want to cause some mayhem? I approve. Filch is the worst, and a happy Filch is enough to put anyone ill at ease. It's going to be basically abuse.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And Josh, remember what Veritas Serum is.
Yay!
So proud of you. 10 points to Hufflepuff.
It's going to get taken away.
That's where you made up for it.
Yeah.
And
I'll lose it by the end of the show anyway, so it doesn't matter.
fireworks. I love the twins so much it hurts.
It's true.
And like I was saying, they want to know, any guesses from the Muggle what the LE stands for? Think
I
you
nailed
answered
it.
that, show? Snape's memory always has me conflicted. But yeah, James is a huge bully and has Sirius backing him up. But Snape's Hex or Jinx actually cut James, and that's not cool. It's true, but I mean, that also wasn't the first thing that happened in that interaction.
Right. That wasn't the start of it.
Yeah, that was already retaliation, so.
Defense.
I mean, still not good, but
No.
like nothing in that memory is good except Lily. Like I said, that she's the only good thing in there.
Yep, 100%.
How does Josh feel now? Does he have any sympathy for Snape? Does he now get why Snape might be so horrible to Harry? Harry looks just like James.
Again,
I'm
conflicted.
Yeah. Says maybe it's PTSD related.
If he removed that memory from his head, theoretically speaking,
yeah,
would he treat Harry Potter differently?
I think he would have to remove a lot of memories.
Yeah, because that probably wasn't,
start
like
acting
we said,
differently.
That wasn't the only bullying instance.
Yeah. Like you're saying, like that was just Snape's worst memory.
Right.
For whatever reason, that was the worst.
Yep,
but
you're right.
There's still plenty of other times, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Next email from the other Katie.
Other Katie, hi.
For the record, I love that you keep signing your email that way. I always know who it is then, too.
Exactly.
So, aloha, Matt and Josh. There's so much to discuss for only one chapter, so let's get to it. We get the fallout after Umbridge busted the DA, the worst of which that she is now the headmistress of Hogwarts. This should be horrible, but somehow I just find it funny. I have a feeling that not many of the students are willing to put up with her antics, and Fred and George are leading the fight against her. The Slytherin Hall Monitor program has an official name, the Inquisitorial Squad. I shudder to think what it feels like to have your fellow classmates taking house points away for trivial things. Also, Ernie says that prefects can't dock house points, but in Book 2, Percy clearly takes points away from Ron for being in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom.
Was Percy head boy at that time? Or prefect?
He, I think, was just a prefect at the time.
Okay. Just throwing that out there.
So, okay. She mentions this here, and I think it comes up in a later email, too.
Okay.
You don't happen to have your book with you, do you?
Nope.
Okay, because I started to wonder if my book is different or something. Because, she mentions here that Ernie says that prefects can't dock house points.
Uh-huh. Yep, I definitely remember hearing that read to me.
But you see, in my book, it says you can't take points from fellow prefects.
Oh.
And you see, the other email that comes up later, too, I think mentions that, it says you can't take points from students. And mine just says...
I totally remember fellow prefects, yeah.
Yeah, mine says from fellow prefects.
Right.
And so, Percy taking points away from Ron made sense because he wasn't a fellow prefect.
Right.
And we kind of discussed that, it would kind of undermine the prefect system if prefects could take points from prefects because then no one's above anybody.
Right.
So I'm wondering if people are reading it wrong or if there is a variation in the books or what's going on there. I would honestly love to know because, like I said, this isn't the only email it's brought up in.
Right.
And I thought it made sense to me.
Yeah, no, now that you say that, I totally remember you can't take points away from other prefects. And when that was read, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and that's why he started rattling off points from everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the step up with the Inquisitorial Squad is yes, we can.
Right.
So. And
that's why it wasn't an issue taken away from Harry because he's not a prefect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, she continues, I can't believe Umbridge will question Harry to find out about Dumbledore and Sirius. Just kidding. She is terrible and would, of course, do that. She has no morals, and she is extremely lacking in subtlety.
True.
Oh, Filch. He just wants to find his place in life. But as a squib at a magical school, I'm not sure it's working out too well for him. Also, if Umbridge gets rid of Peeves, what will be Filch's new life purpose? We have always kind of said that's their ongoing battle.
Yeah.
Like, it's what he does in his time off.
Just torturing kids on the rack.
I suppose if that was allowed, he would spend a lot of time down in the dungeons.
He'd care less about Peeves at that point.
Yeah. One of my all-time favorite quotes comes from Flitwick in this chapter, telling Umbridge, I wasn't sure whether I had the authority. After she gets the fireworks out of his classroom. He's so sassy.
Yeah.
Cho is being blindly loyal to her friend, and I'm glad Harry called Marietta out for what she did. Not only did she sell out everyone in the DA, but she, in essence, sold out Dumbledore. Yep. Harry's curiosity is back. It never really leaves him, does it?
No.
So now he gets a glimpse into Snape's worst memory, which turns out to be Snape being bullied by Harry's father and godfather. And this is yet another piece of Snape's history that makes me feel bad for him, but not enough to feel bad for him as an adult. Mostly because he called Lily a mudblood. Mm-hmm. Given his history with Voldemort and the Death Eaters, his use of the term shouldn't surprise me, but it's still so jarring. I may not like what Snape said to Lily in this memory, or how he chooses to act as an adult, but I also really dislike James and Sirius. They choose to bully someone simply because he exists, and that's not okay.
Yeah, that was gross.
Yeah. And, of course, Harry gets caught. What did he think was going to happen? This entire chapter is upsetting. Hopefully the next ones will be more uplifting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully. I can't take much more of this.
Next email from Maria.
Hi, Maria.
Says, hey guys, how awesome are the twins? I just loved it. Every time I read this book, I break out and smile. But let's not skip ahead. Let me start from the beginning. I'm glad Umbridge wasn't able to get into the office. I can't imagine what she would have done if she could. Ooh, yeah. If she redecorated Dumbledore's office.
Oh.
Ugh.
Yeah, too much.
Yep. When Malfoy docks points from the guys, they state that prefects can't dock points from students. That's not what it says in my book. And Malfoy replies that he knows that, but the Inquisitorial Squad can't. In Chamber of Secrets, when Percy sees the trio coming out of the girls' bathroom, he docks 5 points from Gryffindor as a prefect. This was pointed out to Rowling, and books were slightly rewritten. See, now I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Do you mean were they reprinted, and so there's two different versions? Or she just clarified it in this book? Or... You see, now I'm confused.
Yeah.
If anyone has any information about this, I would love to know what's going on.
Please clear this up.
Yeah, it seems clear in my book. I didn't know it was such an issue. So, anyway, speaking of the Inquisitorial Squad, I wonder if this is something Umbridge was already pursuing when Dumbledore was there, or if she just thought of this today, and maybe Malfoy approached her with his idea and she jumped all over it. What about the fact that they can take points from students? I've always wondered how that would work. How do you get into the authorized list of people with the capability to alter the house points throughout Hogwarts? It seems to me like Slytherin has a very good chance of winning House Cup this year if this keeps up, though.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't think anybody at the school anymore, like, starting from this point on, cares about the House Cup. You know?
Yeah.
Like, with Umbridge in charge and all this chaos, and, like, nobody is sitting there worrying about their points anymore. It's whatever.
Not
they
so
know
much.
it's a lost cause. Let's just try to survive this year.
She's already ruined all the Quidditch teams. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Educational decree number 29 sounds horrible, but I guess a school under Umbridge would be horrible anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're back at this point again. How awesome are the twins? I just love this part of the story, and by the looks of it, so did Hermione. So the dream was different. Did it bore Josh this time around?
Snorefest.
Absolutely. I know I defended Cho last time around, but I believe it was at this point when I started getting fed up with her the first time I read the books. Harry, Harry, Harry. You wouldn't be Harry if you didn't go around looking for trouble, I guess. But at least us readers got a chance to see the Marauders in action. And what a letdown James and Sirius were. I thought they were like the twins. Sound familiar? And after all, isn't that what Hagrid said in the third book? And yes, Fred and George did shove Montague into the vanishing cabinet, not knowing where they had sent him. But still, it seems to be that James bullied Severus only because Sirius was bored. There is so much more that I would love to say, but I have to stop here because of spoilers.
Good job.
I just feel bad for Harry. I know how he feels. I love my dad too, but that moment... Oh, I love my dad, but I too had that moment where I found out that my perfect daddy wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're saying nobody's perfect.
Nope.
Next email comes from Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
Says, hey guys. Matt, I know you can't read this. Okay.
Almost got you.
Yeah. Dumbridge is, well, dumb. Why would she tell Harry that she was watching the Food Network and opening all the owl posts? Wouldn't she want to keep that a secret so he would mess up? Not very good villain moves, Umbridge.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and by the way, here is my I mean, she's monologuing.
Yeah.
Basically. I love the twins. They are the light in this book, pretty much saving it altogether. They don't care about being expelled, and they're ready to show it. The scary question is, how far will they go? Will they get expelled?
No. Nope, they won't.
All right.
I don't think so. They're going to try. They're going to go out in a blaze of glory, but no. Something. We will see Dumbridge's reign of terror end before the end of the year because she's gone. We need a new teacher. She's not going to be headmistress going into next year. Twins will be fine. We're good to go.
All right.
Yep.
How awesome would it be to see your parents when they were your age? How awful would it be to find out your dad was a bully? It's hard to imagine how Harry is feeling, seeing his dad as a bully, while also hating the man he picks on. I wonder if he'll be staying away from the Pensieve for a little bit. Anyway, I can't wait to hear Josh's thoughts on all of this.
Yeah, he needs to stay away from that memory bowl for sure.
Yeah, hasn't really turned out too much good for him.
No.
All right, next email from Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
If you don't remember, last week Hannah wrote in. She was the unapologetically long email.
Right.
She starts off this week with, I'm back with another unapologetically long email.
Okay, Hannah.
Hannah, even though this is an abbreviated episode, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I think I'm going to try to split it into 2 weeks. We'll read the second half next week. Assuming she doesn't send it in another email.
Sure.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But
hey, we had to do this with Alex.
Yep.
You know, we gave him a couple.
Got to cut him off somewhere. Like, she's still behind. She hasn't heard these episodes yet. So.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah. I hate to just not read emails, so
yeah,
we'll give you something.
Definitely.
We like people writing in. Anyway, she says, hi, Matt, Josh. Yeah, I'm back with another unapologetic. That's a long word.
Yeah.
Unapologetically long email. I have now finished with episode 52, so she's getting close.
Okay.
And have some things to say.
All right.
I wasn't planning on emailing again until I caught up, but after listening to the first couple episodes of Order of the Phoenix, I couldn't help it. Which is weird because she doesn't start with that right away.
Sure.
Josh, I want to congratulate on a prediction of sorts that you made in a very offhand way that I don't know if you've been congratulated on yet. In episode 44, you made a joke about wanting Percy to go away for the next couple of books and see if when he came back he'd be any better. well, he may not be gone that long, or maybe longer, who knows, but he has indeed gone away for the time being, so congratulations. That's not one I would have picked out.
Yeah.
In episode 47, Josh makes a comment about not trusting Dumbledore. Good for you.
Yeah.
It's not that he's untrustworthy as far as we know, but anyone with so much power and influence deserves some wariness. The Dumbledore we see in books 1 through 4 is funny and exciting, and now, at the end of the 4th book and into the 5th, we see a very different and much more complex side of Dumbledore. I've wanted to write essays on his ethics and leadership style, and the leadership style of Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore, but unfortunately never took a Harry Potter class and lacked the motivation to write the essay on top of the work I already have to do, as I'm in grad school getting my master's in social work while working full-time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have some ambitious people listening to the podcast.
Do.
I have to say
what
that.
are you guys doing listening to us?
And then on top of it, writing emails to us.
Yeah.
It's like, go do your homework. People.
Make the world better. We're certainly not.
Also in episode 47, Crumb was given a huge pass for using the Cruciatus Curse on Cedric. I believe the reasons were along the lines of the pressure of the tournament and the influence of Karkaroff. Crumb is at least 17, which is of legal age in the legal adult age in the wizarding world, so he should know that using such a curse in the tournament is one of the worst possible things you can do. He chooses to torture a fellow contestant with one of the most horrendous spells devised by wizardkind, and is old enough and adept enough a wizard to know better. Not okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this quick here.
Okay.
She continues, since he was under the Imperious Curse, yes, I clearly don't blame him, but excusing the use of the curse itself is not cool. So, yeah, that's the whole point. He was under the Imperious Curse. It wasn't Crumb actually doing it.
Right.
So, persecuting Crumb for doing it wouldn't make any sense.
No.
He was literally being controlled by someone else.
He was just the conduit for it.
Yes, he was a giant wand essentially.
Right. Yeah, it's not like he got drunk and got behind the wheel, and then ended up killing somebody from drunk driving. Like that would be like persecuting the alcohol itself.
Yeah,
in a way. You know,
yeah.
I that's a bad analogy, I guess.
I don't know if you're going to get a good analogy for this.
No,
one.
probably not.
But yeah, it's not because of some poor choice that Crumb made.
Yeah,
it was out of his control, unless he knew how to, break the Imperious Curse.
Sure,
Which,
he was not consciously doing it.
Yeah, like he had no part. Like as soon as Crumb was in that maze, like. He had no control.
Yep.
Like that's why Fleur went down. That's why he attacked Cedric. That's how it goes. Like, yeah, I can't blame Crumb in there either.
Right.
Then let's see. This might be a comment one of us made. Fleur is too pretty to win the tournament? Really? I forget who made this comment, but it really bothers me. The goblet picked her because she was the best and most talented, and her looks have no bearing on whether or not she can win. Just saying.
I think it was in... Trying to backtrack on this might be difficult, but I think it was more along the lines of like how her character had... not saying she was too pretty to win, but her character was put in the position to where she was essentially written to be pretty and like, sure, she was the best from the school, but she was never in the book really given the chance to show that she was a viable competitor.
Yeah.
After the first task, like once you got into the lake, it was just like, okay, well, this is how she is. And then like it just continued to go from there. she was never made to be propped up or looked at as somebody who could actually win the thing.
Yeah,
whereas her looks
she always kind of came in at the bottom of the standings.
Yeah, but her looks were continually brought up and spoke about. So I think that's probably where the comment came from. Sure. It's not like neither one of us thought like, oh, she's too pretty, she would never win. It was like, no, that's how this character is being portrayed, and we have to, continue with that because that's what's going on.
Yeah,
for better or for worse.
And I guess I would look at it too as like, yeah, she may have been the best choice from the school.
Yeah,
but I look at like the Olympics, and you get these entrants from all over the world, and there's always that one country who starts in the 8th lane, who no one has any expectation to win.
Right.
Like they may be the best from their country. They may be a competitor, but no one is expecting them to win.
I'd like to reference a little movie that you may be familiar with, Matt. Cool Running.
I did, that went through my mind too.
Jamaican bobsled team.
Yep.
Sure, they're the best bobsledders from Jamaica. But are they the best bobsledders? Do they have a chance? Well, it turns out they did have a chance. But
yes,
still, same principle.
It happens once in a while. But my point being, yeah.
Look, honestly, going back, I would like nothing more if it was between Harry and her coming down neck and neck to the wire. Like, she was propped up as a competitor, as a character, to be as strong or stronger than all the dumb boys in the tournament. That would have been phenomenal to see.
Exactly. And that's what I kind of liked about that last task, is like, it still gave everyone a chance. Like that, all the other tasks did was give them, the head start in the maze.
Right.
Whereas once they got in there, everyone still had an equal shot at it.
Yeah.
And so if you would have taken out Crumb and Cedric, and then it was Fleur and Harry left over, like, that would have, like, why doesn't that make sense? Why couldn't it have been that way? But
right. And for us, it wasn't like, oh, we don't think she could win because she's a girl and she's too pretty. It's like, no, like, her strength and skills as, a witch were never really put on display from JK's own pen.
Yeah.
Like, her character was described as being pretty and irresistible to boys, and like that's the character that we got to know. That's not saying that's how we wanted it or that's how we saw it, but that's how it was written, and that's the only way to interpret it. So if there was anything that we said that was offensive about that, definitely obviously apologize. It is hard to go back and try to remember the context of what that was said, but definitely did not mean it to be, sexist or anything in any sort of light like that. So,
I also just wanted to say that I loved Alex's email about the movie episode of Goblet of Fire. I watch these movies in a similar way, picking everything apart, and since I have read the book so many times, I tend to nitpick and be bothered by so many of the changes made, even if I understand cinematically why they were made. I do enjoy the movies, even the fifth, though it is my least favorite, but I notice that I'm bothered by the changes nonetheless. Also, the "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?" scene will never not bother me. It is not who Dumbledore is, calm, in control, the mastermind and observer, not the out of control, grabbing Harry and pushing him around that we see in the scene.
Mm.
Yeah. I think I'm going to stop there, because then she jumps to Order of the Phoenix, which is a good cutoff point for now.
Okay, cool.
So, hopefully get to that next week.
Definitely.
Next email comes from Rihanna.
Hi, Rihanna.
Says, hey guys, Just one of us randomly.
Just one of us. Probably you.
Yeah. Fun read this week. Well, mostly. Until you find out Harry's dad and Sirius were bullies growing up. A few mentions from this week's reading. Harry yelling, "Don't start crying again" at Cho has to be my favorite part of this chapter.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was my favorite part until Lily said, "I wouldn't go out with you if it was a choice between you and the giant squid."
Yes.
And then, "I'm surprised your broom can get off the ground with that fat head of yours." I think Harry got a bit of his sass from his mom. Possibly.
Real talk, real quick.
Yeah.
How many of you folks out there cared about that line about the giant squid at all up until you started listening to this podcast? I'm going to say 0%. You're
Josh,
welcome.
That's why, we love you. That's why people come back just for you. Snape being bullied as a teenager should be the reason he is not a bully as an adult, not the other way around. Sure, if he only bullied Harry, I would kind of understand, since Harry looks identical to James, but he bullies Neville as well, and Hermione. He's not my favorite for this reason and a few others. Sure. Can't wait for this book to be done.
Nice.
Next from Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin.
Says, "Dear Josh and Matt, last week I told y'all I'm moving to the Gambia." Details, sure. Yes. Here's a bit more info. I graduated college last May. Okay. Congratulations. And I was accepted to serve in the Peace Corps at the beginning of the summer.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I'll be abroad for a little over 2 years starting this October. Hence the holiday season starting a bit early for my family. We're currently getting ready for Thanksgiving. Last week was Halloween. This week,
sure.
I love this.
Okay,
I'm sure next week is Christmas then, right?
Yeah, this is like a sitcom right now.
Yeah, I have to say,
or a J.K. Rowling book. Just next chapter, it's a different holiday.
I have to say that this is the first year I've appreciated the commercial ploy of having holiday food and decorations months ahead of time. Pumpkin carving is set for tomorrow.
Awesome.
Some notes from last week. I think it was Josh who wasn't sure how to reference centaurs. And while the most comprehensive answer comes from our dear friend Newt's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, figure I'd give a quick answer here.
Okay.
So, I believe this is actually at least a paraphrasing of what is in the book. Says the Wizarding World population is divided into being and beast. Centaurs refuse to be referred to as beings, which the Ministry defines as creatures with sufficient intelligence to communicate with wizards and follow wizarding law.
Okay.
Centaurs choose instead to be classified as beasts, as they wanted to deal with their own affairs, and they were opposed to the classification of some of the creatures that were or were not classified as beings.
Okay.
There you go. So, I get basically, if you ask the Ministry, they'd be classified as beasts.
But who asked the Ministry anyway?
Yeah. Not this book.
Forget those guys.
With Hermione's Patronus and Josh's comparison of the river and sea otters last episode, I remembered an old shirt I had when I was a kid. I never knew there were so many Harry Otter shirts out there. The odd part is, well, you'll see in a minute.
Okay.
You can compare the two then as well.
Are they very similar?
Oddly, no. They're about as different as they can be.
Wow. I like that one a lot.
Well,
that's so cool.
If you like that one,
it
says, I love this shirt so much, but of course it no longer fit after a couple of years. It's still available all over the internet. So I'm planning on buying a sweatshirt so I can alternate it during the cold months with my Merry Christmas, you filthy muggle sweater. Yeah.
Oh, you guys crack me up.
Now, on to this week. You know it's going to be a bad chapter if it starts with an educational degree.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
At least we start off with some lighthearted rebellion against the old Toadface. I can't wait to see what Fred and George do next. And will Dumbridge discover the culprits? How will they? If so, how will they escape?
Good question.
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
There's honestly not much else to say about this chapter. Harry discovers what his father and godfather were like when they were his age, and unsurprisingly, they weren't the images he had of them. Being bullied is no small matter as we learn more about Snape's adolescent years and saw a taste of the torture he got from the Marauders. I remember first reading the scene and how surprised I was that Snape didn't want to punish Harry in some fashion. I understand better now that having his vulnerability revealed to his most hated classmate's son would be among his worst fears, hence the pensieve. Makes me wonder what other memories he has stored away.
That's a good question.
It is. Next email comes from Brent.
Hi, Brent.
Safe in Florida. Thanks for your concern last week with everything that was going on with the hurricane. There are a lot of stories I could tell, but I'll spare you and the rest of the listening audience. But let's just say that most of them revolve around 5 days, 4 states, 3 cars, 2 broken running boards, and a flat tire.
All right.
But as to which week I should have missed, 2 weeks ago was the full week of planning, prep, and getting the heck out of Dodge. So last week, while the hurricane was doing its thing, it was pretty boring. Nothing to do but write an incredibly long and pointless emails to all my favorite podcasts.
That's fair.
But enough with that. Let's get to this week. Matt, I'm not sure why you only chose to do 1 chapter this week, because it's not like it was a particularly long chapter. And I haven't looked ahead yet, so maybe it had something to do with aligning upcoming chapters better. Or perhaps it has to do with the subject matter of this week, and you want to spend some time camping out there, specifically on the topic of bullying. Josh, you are right to feel sick and gross and squeamish about Harry's dad being a bully. You should feel that way because that's what he is. Harry feels that way, and honestly, when I think about some of the things I did in high school, I feel that way about myself. It's interesting to me, so far in this series, we've tackled issues like blatant racism, supremacy, death, dismemberment, physical abuse, torture, and I'm sure a few more that I'm just not thinking of at the moment. But none of them quite have the yucky feeling like this one. Perhaps it's because the perpetrators were all from people we already didn't like, and this is the first time our mental image of someone isn't living up to reality. James is supposed to be one of the good guys, and how in the world did Lily ever fall in love with a guy like that and let him father her children? Well, I won't ruin the story for you, so from here on out, I'll only speak of me. In high school, I was a football player. I did football player kinds of things. We gave freshmen swirlies. Yes, we really did. We picked up kids and stuffed them in trash cans. We tricked underclassmen into thinking it was okay to go into the senior cafeteria and then rouse them up. We put kids in no-win situations that could only result in them being on the receiving end of some pretty vile pranks. And yes, I was a part of that. I never looked on it as bullying, just having fun. Making the underclassmen pay their dues, knowing that they would one day be where we were and they could do the same. I always felt that I had a line I wouldn't cross, but that line was pretty far out there. I wasn't a bad guy, and I'm not one now. I just made some really bad choices. Thought mostly of myself and my image, and was just trying to have fun. Eventually, what woke me up to it was one instance. There was a kid who wound up ripping his pants from something we did, and he begged us to leave him alone. In the moment, I remember thinking he'd get over it and laugh about it later. But when I saw the fear and tears in his eyes, it gave me pause. And then I found out it was his only good pair of pants, and his family couldn't afford new ones. They had been a gift at the start of the school year from his mom. Think about that. A new pair of pants at the start of school being a gift from a parent to a child. My parents got me new school clothes each year, but it wasn't a gift. It was expected. It was just part of what we did. But for this kid, it was a gift, and who knows what his mother sacrificed for them. I offered to fix them for him, and even got him 2 more pairs of pants to go with them. And it became a mantra for me, especially being one of the biggest people you'll ever meet. Remember, I'm a football player. That was my task. My task in life was to protect those who couldn't protect themselves, and bring joy, not fear, into people's lives. To anyone out there who may be a victim of bullying, I say to remember that these guys often don't know what they're doing. It doesn't make it right, but keep your head up. It does get better, and seek help. To anyone out there who may just be having a bit of fun, let me tell you that it's not fun for the others. It is bullying. It's gross. It's sickening. And you don't have to keep doing it. All it takes is for one person to stand up to the others and put a stop to it. Being a protector is far more rewarding than being a bully. You may have to make some amends, and it'll be one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do. But it's the right thing to do.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else you could say about that.
I think he did a pretty good job of explaining it.
Yeah.
And it definitely fits the theme of this chapter. So Thank you, Brent, for sharing that with us. And hopefully everybody will take that to heart.
Definitely. Please.
The next email then comes from Atari Alex.
Hello, Alex.
It says, Dear Josh and Matt, there was once a time where I considered Order of the Phoenix to be my favorite book in the Harry Potter franchise. That's changed over the years, but now, between Josh's constant complaining, the general slow pace of the book, and how much bad stuff happens overall, that just kind of makes it a bummer. I think I'm ready to say this is now my least favorite book. It does, however, have a few saving graces, and the Weasley twins' talent for causing chaos is certainly one of them. It's too bad they cut the scene out of the movie.
What? Alex, don't even get me started. He's just trying to rustle
Prepare
my
you?
feathers. Yeah. Is he? I don't know. I can't tell with him. It better be in the movie.
The other key scene in this chapter isn't as much fun to read, sadly. I'm just going to come out and say it. James is a prick. Like, there's no part of this that is redeeming for him. Now, sure, this is Snape's memory, so maybe the way he remembers that day makes Potter Sr. and his crew look worse off than they actually are, but we don't know if memories in the Pensieve are skewed or biased like they are in real life. For example, one spring break, I went skiing with my family in Colorado. I was making my way downhill when my sister suddenly cut in front of me, knocking me down, where there just so happened to be a wooden plank with a rusty nail sticking out of it buried under the snow. I got a pretty good sized cut on my knee, so I had to be taken down to the first aid station and couldn't ski for the rest of the trip. At least I didn't get tetanus, though. My sister, however, swears up and down that she was nowhere near me when this happened, and I fell down on my own. I'm too good of a skier for that to happen, so she's wrong. We still fight about it to this day. My point is, we remember the things the way we want to remember them, but when magically extracted from the brain, does the Pensieve somehow remove our biases? Or just give the user a more complete picture of what they want to see? It's a good question. The other thing I want to touch on from the scene is Harry. First of all, he's a complete idiot for going into Snape's memory in the first place. Seriously, how am I supposed to root for him as the protagonist when he does stupid stuff like this? Then he gets into the memory, and J.K. does a great job, almost too good of a job, depicting how Harry desperately this isn't Alex's fault at all. I just can't read.
Okay. You're making him look bad, Matt. He's going to write in angry.
Yes. Okay. Then he gets into the memory, and J.K. does a great job, almost too good of a job, depicting how desperate Harry is to follow his father around. I don't know what it's like to grow up not knowing your parents, so I suppose it's believable that having the opportunity to not only see, but hear and experience what they were like would be mesmerizing. But Harry's attitude in this scene honestly gets on my nerves as much as Little Wormtail, who is equally pathetic. Sirius and Lupin are just kind of there. Well, that's it. Even though there's only one chapter, I still managed a decent-sized email out of it, and I'm sure you'll still make a 3+ hour podcast out of it. Go us.
We expect nothing less from you, Alex.
Yep. Honestly, I think that's one of his longer ones in the past few weeks.
It has been.
Yeah.
That's why I came in after we started recording, because he was still busy writing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, once again, someone has outdone him.
Dun, dun, dun.
Last email from the night from Joe.
Joe! What's up, Joe?
Says, hey guys, I'm not purposely trying to send in my emails late or trying to be last.
Sure.
The problem is I'm trying to reread the chapters on Monday so I can give fresh feedback.
You guys have a week to do this. I don't... Look, okay, all right. Go, continue.
But I don't end up starting my reading until late because I have rehearsal Monday nights. Come on, people. You know we like details. You can't
Rehearsal for what?
Rehearsal. I'd like to know, please. Like, rehearsal sounds... I usually think fine arts, music,
I know he used
drama.
to be a wrestler, so I'm in my head, that's what it is for.
Okay. Still, would love to know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have rehearsal Monday night, so by the time I get finished reading and writing the email, it's pretty late over here. I'm just glad I get them in on time. You're cutting it close, Joe.
Way too close.
I was surprised we were only reading one chapter tonight until I realized what the chapter was. So much to talk about. Can't think of a worse way to start the chapter than by getting another educational decree, this time announcing Umbridge as the new headmistress of Hogwarts. I'd love to see some kind of concrete evidence that shows she's been making a positive difference at Hogwarts since arriving that would merit her getting this position. Does that mean more firings are going to happen?
She's going to be too busy.
As soon as Umbridge offered Harry a drink, I knew something was up. I'm pretty sure she had put Veritas serum in his tea, hoping he'd drink it and then spill everything he knows about her. Thankfully, Harry smartened up just in the nick of time. How can you not love the twins? Rebels with a cause to make Umbridge's life a living hell. Sounds good to me. I love what they did here and how advanced it was, too. If they used a certain charm to get rid of the fireworks, they would simply multiply. That's Hermione level clever. It is. It is. Yeah. I wonder what else they have up their sleeves. Also, want to give an honorable mention here to Flitwick for his sass towards Umbridge and slamming the door in her face.
Yep.
I really hope this is the end of the whole Harry and Cho saga. Harry doesn't need that kind of craziness in his life right now. I thought it was interesting that even Madame Pomfrey couldn't remove the boils from her face after spending some time in the hospital wing. Where did Hermione learn that, Hex?
That's a good question.
Makes you wonder if she's starting to kind of create her own magic.
Yeah, she probably read it in a book, though. Let's be real.
It's possible, but yeah.
She's read books that people at Hogwarts didn't even know existed.
Fair enough. Harry shows zero self-control. He knows he shouldn't look at Snape's memories and does so anyway. He's putting himself in every position to get into trouble, so I don't want to hear him play the victim card. It was really neat getting to see the Marauders and Snape when they were younger. James and Sirius were bullies. Who would have thought? No wonder Snape doesn't like Harry. I love Lily's line that she wouldn't go out with James if it was a choice between him and the giant squid. I'm sure Josh has similar sentiments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Snape has every right to be angry at Harry. Never expected to say those words. Not sure I would have thrown him into the floor and threw a jar at his head, though. So no more lessons for Harry from Snape. That's a question. No more lessons from Harry from Snape?
No.
Does that include potions?
Oh, class is going to be miserable.
Will Harry tell Ron and Hermione what he saw?
I don't know. I think everything is kind of ramping up that it's a good possibility that he won't even have a chance to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like that's pretty personal and deep for like Harry, whereas it wouldn't affect Hermione and Ron very much.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like one part of me is saying, well, of course, because he tells them everything, but the other part of me really thinks that things are ramping up. Things are going to get chaotic here around Hogwarts. He might not have time.
we're getting to that part of the book where like the last 6 chapters are going to take place in one day.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. If anything, I could see it coming up like in the next book.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like you said, we're getting to the point where not everything wraps up at the end of the book nicely like it used to.
Yep.
Things carry over a lot.
Yep. So that's what I think. That's the last email, though, isn't it?
That is the last email.
All right. Unfortunately, we didn't get to hear from our wonderful other headmistress, Mel B.
She got mentioned a few times, though.
She did. Yeah, that's it'll have to do this week, I suppose.
Yep.
Thank you to everybody though that wrote in. Even our couple time travelers that won't hear it for a while. Definitely appreciate, and when you open this time capsule up and however long it takes you to get to it, hope you enjoy. But thank you to everybody that wrote in and always continue to make this email segment a lot of fun. Let's announce next week's giveaway, Matt, shall we?
Shall.
What are we giving away next week?
Well, I honestly, I was trying, this is one of those things I was trying to figure out, like, when would be a good time to give this away. And, like, I didn't think I'd find a good time for it, but this week makes total sense. We talked a lot about all the evil and Umbridge and these Slytherins in this chapter, and how it was just so awful and gross. And I think it's as good a time as any to give away our Slytherin wall art that I have sitting around here.
Awesome. We gave away a Gryffindor one a while back.
Yeah, okay. We gave away the Gryffindor. I don't know if I actually mentioned it. I have all 4 houses
right
that we will be giving away eventually. So I still have the Ravenclaw and the Hufflepuff to go. But this week we are going to be giving away the Slytherin.
Yeah. So that's going to be cool. How do you win this? You might ask.
That is the question.
Now, again, if you're not a Slytherin and you don't want this thing, that's fine. But maybe you know somebody that's a Slytherin. Maybe you could do something with it. Don't not participate just because it's a Slytherin thing. Trust me. Part of me thinks we're going to get 0 entries, and I totally understand that. But I want you guys to come through. Even if it's not something you particularly are super stoked to win, I'm sure you could find a use for it in some way, shape, or form. So, I want you to write in an email to Matt, talesfromgodric's@gmail.com. And I want you to tell us briefly, don't have to go into great detail, about the favorite, your favorite classroom that you were ever in.
There you go.
And what made it your favorite? Not necessarily the teacher or the kids, but like the room itself, how it was presented to you by the teacher for the students. What made it your favorite classroom?
Yes. I'm assuming this is inspired by
100%
the Harry Potter classroom at the beginning of the episode.
100%.
Yeah.
And if you are a teacher, here, I'll throw this out here because I know we have a lot of teachers that listen to that. If you're a teacher, if you want to give us your favorite classroom that you were ever in, also, that's fine. But if you're one of those creative teachers, you could tell us about the favorite classroom of yours that you've had in a particular year.
Favorite classroom that you created.
Yeah, what did you do special? What did you change up? What made it like memorable to you? So have fun with it. Like I said, you don't need to go into grave detail about every little thing about it, but just what year was it? What grade? And what made the classroom special that you would like sit back and think that was my favorite classroom? From kindergarten all the way up through grad school, I guess. I don't. Whatever. I doubt anybody at that level is making their classrooms super fun, but you never know.
Hey, maybe they will.
Who knows? Yeah.
Got to get through grad school somehow.
Yep. So send those in to Matt, and we'll pick a random winner next week and have fun with that. So,
all right.
Also, I do want to let you guys know, I was holding off. I was busy this weekend, and I was going to record a Muggle Theories, and then I got nervous about this upcoming chapter that we just read being about what I was going to make my Muggle theories about. And I didn't want to have that like weirdness about it, so I waited until the chapter was read, and I said, "Whew, okay, we still don't know. I'm still good to go as far as a Muggle theories. So this week there will be a new Muggle theories out."
Awesome.
Yeah,
I like it.
I have no idea when it's going to be addressed. All I know is that it wasn't addressed in this last chapter. So
All right.
yeah, so be on the lookout for that. I don't know which day specifically, but you'll know when it's up.
Yep.
Yep.
And yeah, that's something that, of course, will go out first to all of our Patreon subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, they get the early access on those
Right.
Muggle Theories episodes. It will come out later to the public.
Yeah.
But
Before the
dibs.
next episode, for sure.
Yeah.
So, let's see. With that being said, Matt, thank you for another wonderful episode. Next week, we're back to 2 chapters.
We are chapters 29 and 30 for
Okay.
next week. 29 and 30.
Good. Get back into that even number. Those odd numbers are killing me. They
You
freak
say
me out.
that, but I went back and looked, and we've done that in other books too. We've been on odd
Doesn't mean I
chapters all
liked
the
it.
time. Yeah, but both you and Alex didn't mention it until this book.
Maybe because it started off like right off the bat at getting into the odd chapters.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a longer slog through the odd chapters. I don't know.
Possibly.
Anyway, 2 chapters next week. Get back to normal, folks. You can find me personally on Twitter at The Noise. Follow the show on Twitter at Tales from GH. You can follow the Instagram, Tales from Godric's Hollow. You can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow.
You got it.
Perfect. The website, of course, is talesfromgodricshollow.com. If you type in /064, you'll get the show notes with all the cool stuff from this show. Or if you type in /shop or store, you can go check out all the cool merch that's up there. Maybe one of these days we'll have a coffee cup. Only if I could get signed promises from each and every one of you that only Coco will be drinking from the cup. Until then, don't expect it. We'll see. It's a nice suggestion. I will give you that. And if you'd like to support us, like our wonderful headmistresses, and everybody else over there that's supporting us and what we're doing for you guys, the community, you could do so over on Patreon, patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. Matt, where can the people say hi to you?
Well, you can always find me personally on Twitter at As a Matter of Matt. Otherwise, as you've mentioned multiple times for multiple reasons, get a hold of me via email for giveaways, spoilers, weekly emails, whatever you want to send my way. It doesn't matter. I take them all. talesfromgodric's@gmail.com.
Especially if you want to make fun of me. I heard that's the best place to do it. Like I said, it's been a fun show. It's been kind of exhausting emotionally. I hope next week is better. But as Matt pointed out, we are getting towards the end of the book, so I don't expect any of these chapters to be good going forward. So that's going to be fun. Until next week, Muggle out.
Mischief managed.